Welcome everyone to my show, Talk with Sally. How is everyone today? Today we have a fun topic, smart cities and lifelong learning. What does that have to do with what's going on in the world? And is that really a thing? We keep on hearing that, I don't know, there's no way the music's still playing, Julian. There's no way it's turned off. You're a little behind. Sweet. You're always 20 seconds behind. Always remember that. Anyway, guys, we're going to be talking about smart cities. You know, I've heard smart cities are going to go up, and what does that have to do with anything? And is that really real? Is that really a goal they have? Well, based off a lot of my research, that is kind of what it seems like they're trying to do. How are they going to accomplish that? I have lots of theories. They're backed by some data. They're just all speculations on my part. However, this lady that we're listening to, Allison, is kind of going the same way where I'm going. Like the best way that they're going to accomplish this, as I can see it, is one, they're going to create chaos, right? They're going to allow people to go lawless. They're going to allow people to ransack cities. So the main cities that I see focusing on this, good evening, Andy, is Philadelphia, New York, apparently Utah. They're doing it in Utah, California, Portland. So think of some cities that right now, probably Chicago, places where they're not really being tough on crime. They're allowing things to happen. So one thing that they could be doing is they're gonna wait and see who is going to beg the government to do digital ID, digital tracking, right? Another way, keeping people poor. They're going to destroy the dollar. They're already destroying the dollar. I think I read, was it not JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Right now, guys, I was actually going to play that video. Holy cow, I'm going to play this video first because it ties in with everything that is going on right now. But anyway, so my theory is, and this is just my theory, speculation, have you, whatever, but the dollar is going to be destroyed, which they've already been doing, right? And we're all going to be like, what are we going to do? So they have this thing called blockchain. Most people who do crypto and that type of stuff are super excited about crypto. Well, they don't realize that they're helping further along this agenda. They're going to use blockchain, and they're going to make it so that you have digital currency, and it's going to give you an allowance. And it's going to say you only have 2 tokens for bread. You only have half a token for milk, right? You're going to have allowance that you can spend on certain things. It will not allow you to purchase other things on this type of currency. And another way is lifelong learning. We haven't got a ton into that yet, but we will. But first, I'm going to pull up this video. And while I'm doing that, guys, I want all of you right now who are watching, if you're watching from X, and if you're just watching and you're not chatting, and you just have the pop-out window, go and share it. Let people know that this is some interesting stuff. It's a different path that we're going down. We were talking a lot about Operation Gladio. Colonel Townsend is doing an amazing job covering that topic, and I'm learning so much from her. So I think I'm going to continue to let her talk about it. I will continue talking about it in the future. However, I know what Gladio is now. I know how corrupt everything is that has to do with different operations around the world. I want to know what's next. What are we preparing ourselves for going forward in the future? Because everything, we can have all the knowledge in the world, and it doesn't really matter. The key is to prepare yourself, right? And this could be some conspiracy that nothing ever comes of it. I'm not saying put on a tinfoil hat and walk around talking to yourself, right? Prepare for what's coming and educate other people. Because if we stand together, we stand as one, Democrat and Republican, because this is not going to be Democrat, which I just got lotion on my keyboard. Dang it. Hold on. Okay, I can't push buttons. Gosh dang it. Why do I do things like that? But it's going to be like, we're going to have to stand together and we're going to have to know what's going on. And I'm going to say right now, guys, if you don't have food storage, and I know there's a lot of people that I know don't have money right now, figure out how to get stuff that's going to get you through till whenever. Just start, go on a diet, but still buy normal food. I don't know. I mean, I've been trying to grow things, learn how to grow things. If you are someone who, if you're someone who cans food, buy jars ahead of time. I have a feeling there's going to be shortage of those when it comes time to actually go and can stuff. So make sure you have that ready, available, on hand, ready to go. Sorry, I got to move my mic. Hopefully it's not loud. Okay, I'm pulling up this video real quick. Sorry. Let's see. Because this topic is going along with everything. And I love this guy. So because I love this guy, we're going to listen to him. Let's share this screen instead. All right. Oh, that's why you had music in the background, because I didn't remove it from the stage, Julian. Thank you. You were correct, as usual. As usual, you were right. Somehow there was music playing in the background. This movie, was this 18 minutes long? Or was this a different? No, this is a different one.
2022.
No, sorry, that's not the one I wanted. I haven't listened to that one. That one might be good though. Oh my gosh, where did that video go? Hold on. Maybe I got a barrage of them today. Hold on. Did you send me that video, Julian? I thought it was Kari that sent me the video. How many did she send me today? I'm only wanting to play this because it ties into everything that we've been talking about. Oh, did I open the wrong one? There we go. When I play this, let me know if it double plays for you, because I want to unmute the site so I can hear it as well. So please let me know. Geez, oh, you would think I was a newbie at this. I'm really kind of not. And by the way, hi, Kyle. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Sang, Andy, Julian. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. Awesome, awesome. Oh, I unshared. I stopped sharing. That's why. I'm like, why can't I see it? Here we go. Here we go.
Again, this is so fucked up. Look at this. Goldman Sachs is holding $50 trillion of derivatives.
Are you hearing double, guys? Yes, foraging. Learn how to forage. That'd be a good thing to go get a book and learn how to do that. Thistle?
This derivative is basically a bet in the stock market, a bet that something will happen. And there's all kinds of derivatives. All bets need a little bit of collateral so that, both parties agree that the bet is solid. And banks do a lot of betting, and all banks have to report their various derivatives. And I couldn't help but notice that Goldman Sachs is holding $50 trillion.
Remember when we were talking about, so if you were watching during our last, this is a continuation of our last two episodes, about how human bodies have become commodities and they bet on our outcomes. So this kind of ties into the same type of thing of how they're gambling and they're betting in the market, but pay close attention.
Dollars worth of derivative bets at the end of 2022, but their collateral to support $50 trillion worth of bets is only $500 billion worth of collateral. That means they only have 1% of the money of all of the bets that they have made right now in the stock market. That's insane. And most of those derivatives are what are called swaps. More than half of them are swaps. For some quick scale, $100, $10,000, $100 million, okay?
Okay, I'm starting to wonder if this is a current video because he looks a lot different right now. Because they're talking about 2022.
That pallet of money right there, that is the same as buying 100 of these houses that I found on Zillow for $1 million in Oregon. 100 of these houses is one pallet of money. This tower made of pallets, all those tiny cubes, this tower represents $1 trillion. Each of those little blocks is 100 of these houses. This graphic is about something else originally, but it represents $50 trillion worth of money if all of these towers are made out of all of those little pallets that are loaded onto that little truck right there. This is how much $50 trillion looks like. And Goldman Sachs has placed that many bets in the market with less than half a tower's worth of money to actually back them up. And most of these bets are made with swaps, which are extremely opaque and shady. There are lots of kinds of swaps, but basically a swap allows two giant financial parties to just exchange parts of their balance sheet so that whatever you're actually betting on doesn't show up on your balance sheet. So you can, invest in some company without anyone knowing. There's lots of legitimate reasons to use all of these different kinds of swaps and all of these kinds of swaps, all of these kinds of swaps. But frequently swaps are just used by people like Bill Hwang back at Archegos Capital Management that blew themselves up in 2021 to do things like fraudulently build positions using swaps to hide the fact you're building those positions, because they make it so you're able to do the buying alleged in the indictment without anyone knowing that Archegos was actually behind all the trading. For example, back in 2021, right before he blew up, he effectively controlled more than 50% of the freely traded shares of Viacom, and no one outside of Archegos knew about it. Not the investors in Viacom, not Viacom itself, not even the banks and brokerages that were dealing with Bill Hwang, because as alleged, he used multiple banks and multiple brokerages for multiple swaps to hide all of his positions that weren't on his balance sheet. They were on the counterparty's balance sheets. One of his famous counterparties was Credit Suisse. The Credit Suisse that blew up earlier in 2023 because of, who knows why. Credit Suisse made a whole report on the Archegos situation.
Okay, maybe it is a current video. I was thinking that was old. I almost stopped watching it. I don't know. I was thinking it was 2024.
Back in 2021. A careful read exposed that Billy Boy was also doing the same thing shorting GameStop back in 2021, and he almost blew up from that. Or maybe he did, who knows. In Credit Suisse's last annual report before they collapsed, they mentioned Archegos 64 different times. So don't worry too much about Goldman Sachs having $25 trillion worth of swaps out there with only $500 billion worth of assets in the bank. That's probably okay. All that leverage, I'm sure they're used to it. It's a good thing they're not the only one playing these games. End of 2022, there were almost $200 trillion worth of derivatives open in the markets. And 121 trillion of those dollars were in various types of swaps. The New York Stock Exchange is only worth $24 trillion. We're talking about the whole stock exchange, all of every company. Sure, these $121 trillion of swaps are in lots of other markets more than just the stock exchange. But yeah, when you connect those dots, you realize that the entire stock market is a giant casino and no one knows what's going on. I mean, honestly, what do I know? But it sure looks like.
Yeah, I listened to part of that video. I didn't listen to all of it, and I thought it was current. My apologies, everyone. I like to do that to everyone, though. All right, so we're going to get into Allison's video. We got through an hour of it last time. We'll see if we can get through another hour today. But she was talking about the different programs that Palantir and other various tech companies are doing with children, how they are going through and they are pre-K setting up programs to see if they can, kind of like betting on them, trying to see if they can manipulate their behavior in some kind of a way. And what they're doing is kind of like the stock market with them. They're treating them as commodities, something they can trade. So they can hedge, they can short a bet, or they can go for the long haul of a bet. Well, so you guys know what a short is. Short is where they're betting against the success of the individual, and there's those that are betting on the success of the individual. So what they're doing currently in this stage, and this video is from 4 years ago, so keep that in mind as we're listening to this. So I know that for certain in Utah with Palantir, they set up programs pre-K to go through and see who needed special education, right? But in doing this, what they're doing is they are tracking all of their data, their movements, their speech, their knowledge, their behaviors, everything they're tracking, right? And so they're doing this through various, and they're not just doing it in this way. So that is just one way that they are tracking our kids, and they're doing learning. A second one is having a Google computer, right? Who's donated all these tablets, and let's make sure we have internet in all these schools and all these poor neighborhoods. So they're having access to tablets. They're having access to computers. If they're at home, they can play games from these computers. So they're tracking their learning, their behaviors, their patterns, the way they talk to, who they don't talk to. And while they have this Google tablet, guess who has their email? Oh, Google. Google has access to their email. So they know who they're messaging privately. And this starts from a young age. Like as a parent, I had to know my kids' emails for their school to access them. Well, one, so I could spy on them, and two, to make sure they were, doing their homework and to communicate with their teachers or whatnot. So that's another way that they're tracking data throughout their whole entire life. So today, I think we're going to get more into lifelong learning and what it means, lifelong learning. She kind of started insinuating that. So the economy is going to crash, right? So there's going to be jobs that go away. Number one is the auto industry is already going away, right? And what does every president say? Well, you're just going to have to learn a new tech job. You're going to have to learn to go into computers. So what they're going to do is they are going to say, hey, we'll pay for you to go to tech school. We'll pay for it all. But they're going to have you sign a contract that says, if spies like Google, oh yeah, I spy on my kids all the time. They just didn't know it. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, we will pay for you to go to school and to change your career. The government might do it. The company might do it. But here's the kick. You're going to have to guarantee to work for this company for this long, or you're going to have to pay us back, or there's going to be something like that. And they're trying to, and part of this is going to eventually be a goal, is doing income sharing. Okay, if you're going to work for our company, whatever, you're going to have to share your income, and here's a contract, and this is for how long. All of this stuff is designed to be through blockchain. Blockchain is the end goal. You're going to be mining your own blockchain. You're going to be putting yourself in your own prison. That is my thoughts. Not saying it's true. Hasn't happened yet. I do think a lot of this technology is there, even though it hasn't been proven out yet. But let's go ahead and listen to her, and I will add more knowledge as I get it. So if you're watching and you're new, guys, and I will say this every time when I do these, when I use other people's information, especially when they want me to share it for free, because everything has got, all of her slides are free. They want the information to get out there, but I will stop and I will talk about it and I'll add to it, because I'm not just going to take her content. I'm using it kind of as notes. And I'll try not to talk over her. Guys, hit the thumbs up button if you're on Rumble. It really does help out the algorithm. It does help me out. If you're on YouTube, do the same thing. If you are on X and you're watching, hit the heart. If you're not in the notes typing part, because it's really dumb, but that doesn't track the notes or the messages like the other part does, leave a message and then reshare it. I don't know, quote tweet it, do something. Help me out. Help a sister grow. I guess I've got to remember to share this properly. There we go.
and including some fabric with astronomy, because they're the star people. And it was quite amazing. And so I want to just advance the gift economy a tiny bit today. So I have, it's like a gifted gift. A friend, my whole dandelion project, I wanted to create something more like conversation, and want us to keep talking about that. It's about all bigger things. And so I had these slogans that would say like dandelion manifest, like manifesting, don't geofence me in, nature, not nano, and the revolution will not be tokenized, meaning blockchain tokens. And so a lovely woman who lives on Lake Onondaga, and I'm going to go up and actually speak with, do a presentation with Andrew Kaufman and Tom Cowan in July. And so I'm staying with her, and she's an artist. So she made this artwork and designed this for me, and I put it on fabric. And so I'm just going to circulate. Ultimately, I wanted to sew in public and turn these into buttons. Like, I didn't just want to buy buttons. It didn't feel right. Like, it was actually, and so I can't give you anything more than the patch. But even if you just put it on a safety pin, like, it's a conversation starter. And I think the energetic point of this is that it's coming from a place that is, has light, has love and light. And I'm not saying that, but I think really energetically, Michael Bloomberg, he built his European headquarters. He's going to run the global prison planet for Bill Gates, by the way, like on the Mithric, the temple, the Rowan ruins of this Mithric temple. That didn't happen by. So we've got to do like the dandelion power. So thank you for your attention today. I look forward to continuing tomorrow. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. This is a continuation of our talk from yesterday. And so I just recreated my space a little bit here in the event that anyone wasn't here yesterday, just reinforcing that these are my little puppets, the mothers, and that we're here doing today, the work today on behalf of natural life, the keepers of life, and for the children and the natural world, which is sort of my nature panopticon. And I really have appreciated, we continue to have excellent talks. It's great how things all knit together. And, you know, I just want to reemphasize Patrick's assessment that.
Okay, that's what I forgot to tell you when I was doing my introduction, is when she's talking about panopticons, she's talking about smart cities being designed like a panopticon, like a surveillance prison, but it's one where you won't necessarily have walls or bars, but it'll be in the form of a 15-minute city. So everything you do will be tracked and traced throughout this city. So that's kind of the idea. And the panopticon is, so the way they design prisons, clear back, it was the 1800s, is it's designed kind of in a circle. In the center, you would supposedly have a guard. And they make the people believe that this guard can see you at all times. And if you misbehave or step out of line, then bad things will happen, right? So that's kind of like the thing is like constantly surveilling you. And then they went to closed caption cameras. So like in 7-Elevens or prisons where they constantly had cameras on you. So they just gradually been progressing it through different things.
That what is unfolding is beyond political partisanship. That is really a global economic shift that is underway, or an attempted shift, right? An enforcement of an intended shift that may or may not come to fruition. And so just as we imagine this new technocratic or socially engineered, industrial engineered order of inputs and outputs and energy credits would be applied over the world and the humanity of the world, and people would lose their agency to this mechanical system. You know, I just want to reinforce a lot of my context yesterday was in considering what happened with the conquering of this continent by European settlers. And in many ways, that too was an overlayment of a new economic order, a new order of faith and practice that then largely, you know, tried to, you know, excise the existing order. And so I think these dynamics of domination sort of run through our histories, and it's important to consider that. So I just want to start with this intention that I had said that my friend shared with me about the children, just that we're starting in the right place, that children's growth is guided by love, and that thirst for power and control have no jurisdiction here. Because I would say the reality is that most of us who are here in this room are pretty disposable to the system. They're probably not planning on trying to rope us in. We'll be jettisoned as soon as they find convenient. But what they really want are the children and the not yet born to have that normalization, right? To know that there's no difference than sitting up and down at the ring of the tone, in that doctor's office. They want them to always think it's always been that you stand up when the tone happens. And so it's our position to be able to stop that. So just hitting on a couple of slides from yesterday, just to reinforce, I feel like personally, my worldview is that we're at this crossroads of natural life or a synthetic life that is digital and militarized, and looking at one's connection to sacred places and nature.
I don't think it's just digital and militarized. They actually want to do it with our food as well. Hi, Fox, welcome. They want to do it with our food as well. They want synthetic meat. They want us to eat bugs. All the things that they put in our food now are, I almost have the hardest time eating food from the grocery store. I just think every single time, are they putting something in here that I shouldn't be eating? And that's not the right attitude, but I go there sometimes.
Versus a military video game. And so gamification is the theme of the day today. This is from the Global Education Futures Forum, this era of gaming that you can see below. Games become everyday format of life. And so it's very important to understand that the gaming.
Yeah, so this is important too, that I was touching on earlier, is gaming is going to be the way. So kind of during COVID-19, they got us, our children. I didn't really get hooked on the games because I just went outside walking and stuff and grew my garden and hung with my dog. But they try to get our kids hooked to video games, and not just kids, adults and people who are bored. What do we have to do? Watch Netflix and play games. So a lot of the stuff they're going to do is through different video games or different life gaming systems that are more like real life. And I wouldn't know because I don't play them. So you guys could probably in the chat, if there's any video games that you think resemble this or fit this pattern, let me know in the chat. I'd be curious to find out.
Gamification and game theory are a central element of both role-playing defense and role-playing financial markets. Okay, so signals intelligence feed both of those things. And the gamification is part of that scenario planning process. And so by putting us in their game, it is putting us in a game that is not our own, and we lose our own agency. And so just to re-emphasize yesterday, looking to financialize all of natural life. So my focus has been largely on managing people, but it's in relation to the environment, and that is where Agenda 21 and the Extinction Rebellion, the corporate capture of the environmental movement, moves in, is that they want to manage us in relation to the world's resources. And so that they say they will protect us from the world's resources because we might get sick from them. They'll protect the resources from us because we might hurt nature. And that is how they will keep us apart. And the World Bank's One Health and program is a part of that. But we have to understand that the two pieces of these, it runs on the Sustainable Development Goals. And so one piece is largely about managing people, and one is about managing nature, and they're in relation to one another. And Corey Morningstar, she's a contributor to Wrong Kind of Green, and she really does a lot on the environmental angle, the corporate capture of the environment. So it's based on pay for success finance, really this idea of outcomes-based contracts, which are being sold to us as accountability and transparency. But it's accountability and transparency to an industrial engineered machine that seeks to eat our souls, really. And so this idea of you predictively profile people, and the scientists, I think I would say we need to understand them beyond the white coat lab scientists, but also the data analysts. The scientism religion also is largely run on big data analytics. And so even beyond the white coat doctors and the health professionals, that the data analysts will potentially supersede that in the religion of scientism that is proceeding. So we will predictively profile people as a debt commodity, a debt on society based on genomics, geography, parents' situation.
All right. Do we go through this? I think she's put this up a couple of times, but let's go through it again. That way I won't be covering up the slides. So broken people equal raw material. So broken people, and I kind of didn't think about this until it kind of clicked just now. Broken people, meaning poor people, or people who have learning disabilities, or people, that need any kind of assistance from the government. So broken people equal raw material. Depends on environments that break people, profiling people as a deficit or potential deficit, right? So pay for success, privatization, ongoing austerity, outcomes-based contracts. Okay, outcomes-based contracts. What works government? Narrow success, metrics set for test scores. Investors front dollars for services, education, technology. Then we have the big hedge funds going into debt, securitized and trade, and then people monitored and commodified. So they're going to monitor them, they're going to commodify them as data, and then appointed third-party reviews, data, Palantir, deal paid or not, asset-backed securities, and then shortening. So those who are going to short bet. All right, so the circle continues. So she changed up the wording just a little bit to fit what she's talking about today in this bubble. She needs to change her colors for her slides because I thought it was the same one.
We will say that
Just
we will
say
fix
it.
them with an evidence-based solution. We will get investors to invest in that solution, and then we will track people. And so this system enacts overall surveillance, and then we will involve third parties to look at the data, oftentimes with defense or state intelligence ties. And then hedge funds can short the debt and either bet on how we do in the game, right? And then the game begins again. And so people who have issues with everything can fall under this rubric. It's a chronic illness, food access, education, housing issues, mental health issues. All of these things are embedded into this machine to be gamified as social engineering, as Patrick has stated in his earlier talk. So the name of the game, and Alana, it's funny, I forgot that was in part of your book, but my friend Joseph, again, he's a combat veteran, he's like, yes, the game is full spectrum dominance. So it is full spectrum dominance. And I had actually put that up before I remembered that, just to reinforce in Alana's book, that is her focus. It is the full spectrum, and it goes from space to the microbiome. So that, she spoke about frequency, right? But the other fullness of it is from space, because a lot of this game will be run on satellite communications, and then down to the microbiome. And both of those spaces are spaces that the state of Arizona is actively engaged with. Okay, and so I think it's important. I try to.
I don't know. How many of you guys know what microbiome is? Microbiome, I guess there's gut biome and micro. Are microbiome and gut biome different? Micro is related to dirt, and gut biome is your stomach. Now I'm gonna have to look that up. I thought I knew the difference, but now I just got thinking she might be talking about nature.
Provide local context to this. So that's the spectrum of domination. Again, I spoke yesterday quite often about Michael Crow, the president of Arizona State University, and his ties. He's the founding board chair of InQtel, which is the venture capital arm of the CIA. And you see there, George Tenet is on the advisor group of that as well. So what is InQtel investing in? Yesterday I mentioned Pokemon Go, Niantic, which developed Pokemon Go, but this is one of just about 8 pages of open investments they have. And if you look,
wow,
it's trusted infrastructure, digital intelligence, autonomous systems. You see lots of autonomous, lots of trusted. That trust isn't human-based trust. That is mechanical trust. That is systems engineering. That is an industrial engineer. It's a social infrastructure that is actually essentially being underwritten by state intelligence, working in collaboration with this global finance system. So again, this is local. So University of Arizona here, they have the business school, a program called Insight, which they say it's the Center for Business Intelligence and Analytics, so big data research of all sorts. And they have all sorts of things around healthcare data and other sorts of data intelligence. But you can look, over there I put their sponsors, and their sponsors sort of say a lot as to the kind of work that's involved. I mean, the CIA is a sponsor of this business intelligence, and Raytheon and SAP and Oracle and Amazon. So if we're talking about the systems engineering, it is fundamentally a militarized space. And when we think about the concept of domination, most people, average everyday people, even people with graduate degrees or who have credentials, are not aware that the structure is being put in place and what the relationships are. Even though if you go to look, it's pretty obvious. They put it right on their web pages where their money is coming from. But these are the people who want to know the analytics. I also will point out NASA on there, so that's the space. So yesterday I talked a little bit about mixed reality, augmented reality, where you use the geolocation data, Operation Keyhole, Google, it's really convenient to have a map that knows where you are and can tell you what to do and what restaurants to go to. But ultimately, that's based on real-time tracking of you within space. And then the overlayment of information through sensor networks onto the space. And I had mentioned about Niantic, again, being funded through In-Q-Tel/CIA, and they're developing things called augmented cities, where they're, it's all fun, right? They start out with the fun things like the Pokemon Go games. Isn't this entertaining?
You guys see this? I don't know how many of you guys saw the videos floating around with people with Meta wearing their virtual reality goggles, and they're at you got a father and a son sitting across the table, and they're like reaching for each other. I should find the video, but they're like having lunch or whatever, and they're just like interacting with their virtual game. So that's kind of what she's talking about right here. They're going to start out small. Nothing they do is going to be like wham bam. We're just going to throw this in your face. If this is something that they will do, it will be gradual. People will start to accept it as like a normal behavior.
Catch a monster. Here, we're going to do local history. We'll put it in all your public parks so you can scan your phone and you can hear interpretation. But it's going to be so convenient when no one is allowed to walk closer than 6 feet to anyone else, right? Here, we'll have your own pop-up art performance, right? You can interact digitally with a fountain on your phone. And these are the augmenting that they're talking about, but it's starting off in a slow, soft version, like that. It's like, well, who could be against having a poetry tour downtown? You know, like,
exactly.
And then you say, but it's the CIA, and like they don't believe you. So this is, and the other piece of this, so you can see there's Magic Leap, and I think so. Someone recommended to me to read Neil Stephenson's book, The Diamond Age, and it was written in 1995, and it pretty much has all of this embedded, all of this technology, nanobots,
really?
one world government, tutors on iPads, you know, digital governments and automated court systems and incarceration systems. And he worked for Jeff Bezos for a while, and then he became the head futurist at Magic Leap Virtual Reality. So that is sort of, you can see they're working on miniaturizing it smaller and smaller. Look, you can wear your laptop in your headset. And so a lot of times what we're going to hear about moving forward is middle skills jobs, reskilling people for the new economy, the future of work. And it's all, my sense is that a lot of these programs, people are thinking, oh, we're talking about traditional like career technical education, vocational education, like you're going to go somewhere and a person is going to teach you. And no, what they're imagining is virtual reality apprenticeships that are handled through these mixed reality laptops. Oh. And if you imagine that as programming, like, you know, the individuals who are partners with these data analytics firms or other firms are programming the content that you receive through that headset and how you see the world. You're essentially forsaking the agency of you seeing the world with your own eyes, with the eyes of the intelligence community. So what is this purpose? In my feeling is that this is foundationally about eugenics, but in many respects, if we imagine eugenics, you know, as...
She's trying to spit it out. Eugenics, but she's talking about post-human war or world. So they're finding ways to where humans are not the ones that control the world, but yet we might be through, if they were to do twinning and we could operate something, be in one place, like instantly my mind can work somewhere else, right? I could operate machinery with my brain and with my hands at home and never go anywhere. Yet these machines are out doing the same thing that I would be doing if I was in person. I don't think it's kind of hard to make sense, but you'd have to understand twinning. I'm still trying to get a grasp on it. It just seems so weird. They want to be able to have data in real time through the cyberspace. So instead of it having to travel there and travel back information, right? It would be instantly. So it's like twinning your movements, which maybe they've done that with our president. No, maybe think about that.
As you know, in the past of like, how can we create the perfect human, right? The strong, you know, intellectual. This world is for post-human. They don't want the strong, critical thinking people, as they don't want those people around. Actually, what they pretty much want is a commodity they can manage through chronic illness and mental health, and that is under their control. So that they can have them as a dependency to run these pay for success deals and make them code this virtual world. Is that, in my opinion? And if you look back, and you know, it was
so they want mentally disabled or weak-minded or that's because if you rely on your government, they can't control you. That's the whole point of this. Is if you rely on your government, they can control you. And there's times where you have to rely on them and you have to take acceptance of, and you have to accept help. But the goal is not to, yes, this again, Satan's chariot. Sorry, we're got to finish this out. But the goal is to control you. So you got to stay independent. That's why in the UK, they're trying to take away farming, because if you can't grow your own food and you have to eat whatever they let you eat, they can control you. This is why I believe they are making our kids dumb in school. Because if our kids, someone's going to have to pay you to watch this. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you can always go find someone else to watch. Just teasing. Stay here. Don't tune out. Okay, now distracted ADD. But no, but so it's and I think this is why the education system, they're allowing our kids to pass to the next grade. I told you this example of when my kid was in 7th grade. He just happened to get sick right when they were learning integers. And if you know anything about math and equations, if you know anything about math, if you can't solve a simple equation, you're screwed. X plus Y equals Z, right? If you can't solve that, you're screwed. Well, he missed those 2 weeks of school, and the way they were teaching him, he could never catch up. And because I'm his mom, he wouldn't let me teach him, even though I'm really good at math. But what they did is they allowed him to continue on to the next grade. And he was failing 8th grade. And I said, he needs help. What can I do? I'd make him stay after school. I was helping him. I was doing everything I could. I went to the counselor and said, hey, can you put him back in 7th grade math and make him repeat it? And she's like, no. Everyone, pretty much, she was telling me that every kid needs to pass because that's how they get their funding. So if they keep kids behind in school, right? If they don't have the right scores to move up to if they don't go up to the next grade, they don't get funding. So they let these kids continue to go on to the next grade, and now you're 2 years behind, and it's impossible to get caught up unless you go back to 7th grade. And this is what it's the No Child Left Behind. I keep bringing this back to Obama. A lot of this stuff was implemented by Obama. No kid left behind. Changing out the school lunch program. We used to have homemade school lunch, which I used to even like going to my kids' school and having their school lunch. Homemade brownies, homemade rolls. Oh no, Michelle Obama said that wasn't healthy. We need to bring in Tyson's chicken. That's already pre-cooked. We need to bring in everything that's pre-cooked because you might get, I don't know. But our kids got fat after that. Extremely fat. Because my kids used to eat home lunch. And then one year I let them talk me into letting them have school lunch like 3 days a week. Just 3 days a week of school lunch. Both of my kids gained like 20 pounds in a year. I'm like, we're done. We're done with school lunch. Sorry.
Sort of devastating to me, but when I was looking at the first social entrepreneurs, in this Michael Young, and he's in the UK. So again, I had mentioned a lot of this is coming through the socialized systems. Not that people don't need supports, especially if they're all going to be kicked out of their jobs, but the engineered society, this guy, Michael Young, was the thought leader for
my point is they're intentionally making our kids stupid and not think. And it doesn't matter. They don't care if they think. They just keep moving them along. That's why they're doing away with a lot of the testing and stuff.
Labor Party post-World War II.
Oh, so they had homemade French fries, though. They were so good.
And he was connected to the London School of Economics and the Fabian Society. And those individuals were very much eugenics and emphasis, and I didn't know that they even existed. I didn't even know about the Fabian Society. And I, as someone who leans left, honestly. And so when I found this thread that distance learning, state health systems, all of these things, and you match it, I didn't know about the background of the Rockefeller medicine, allopathic. Like, I'm new to a lot of this. So it made a lot of sense to me that you create a system, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, that
Hold on. I accidentally locked my screen. Hold on. Push the wrong button. I was saying a lot of message. I would say yes, that we're not that close. The only thing that makes me think that we're closer to this is the fact that Elon was able to put that chip into that guy's brain, and now he can play video games. And it's, I mean, how do you play a video game? It's pretty close. I'm not saying we're there, but that's what kind of concerns me. Is I think anytime that we have a technology that people are in the open working on, in my opinion, they've already pretty much mastered it. They're just waiting for the right time to instill it. I need to find, Julian, I want to find stuff on Fabian Society. I want to go back to the beginning. If you have stuff on that, that's my next thing I want to go into, because everything I keep hearing, whether it be Operation Gladio or whatever, Fabian Society keeps coming up, and I have no freaking clue. Why lay off the drugs? Come on, Satan's chariot. You're taking away all my fun.
And again, we have to understand that as coming through both Nippon Telegraph and Telephone and SoftBank, which is the largest disruptive AI and robotics fund. They're channeling a lot of the Saudi sovereign wealth fund money. So when we talk about like diversity, equity, inclusion, as much as, you know, clearly we want to have vital, vibrant places with lots of people, what they're actually laying the groundwork for here is cybernetics, and to create the status of robots or human hybrids as a diversity issue. You can see that what they're aiming for is augmented creatures, which also beyond human include animal, plants, and other beings, and artificial ones, artificial creatures within physical cyber environments. And so like when I sit here and like I bring this piece of driftwood from the river, like I'm saying this is serious, because we as humans have a responsibility, because it is our fellow humans that are enacting this on the world. Like the moss doesn't have a say, like the cacti don't have a say about this geoengineering. And so it's really up to us to interrogate the system. And a lot of it's been being framed also within the disability rights movement. So they're in Tokyo, they've been piloting remote operated robotics. So they'll say, oh, you're in the hospital bed, you have ALS, you can't, you're mostly, you know, people with significant impairment, but you can work in a cafe through a robot.
So they're gonna use people who are disabled, so someone who can't walk, someone who can't see. They're gonna try this stuff out on them. So just think of Neuralink, guys.
Robot, right? And if you imagine, like they frame it as, isn't it lovely to be social out in the world in that way? And yes, like clearly having some, like there are real limitations, but it's this dual use, right? Are they going to make the person pay off their time in a hospital by working in this cafe? Like, is it really a caring thing that you're trying to enrich someone's life, or is it another way of slave labor? And so these policies are moving forward. So I would just say gamification is central. Kevin Werbach, I might have mentioned him before, he's a professor at Wharton, and he blends both gamification and blockchain. And what Werbach has said to his group of Wharton alumni, because he said, you know, a lot of people don't even know that there's a game, and a lot of people don't know the rules, and sometimes the rules are unexpected. So really it's best to be the one that designs the game, right? And so that, like, if you're a Wharton alum, then you get to be in the room where Kevin Werbach says, you want to design the game, folks. You want to be the designer. And so you can see here, we're talking the behavioral analytics is leading to transhumanism. And I spoke yesterday a bit about using the data analytics to train the machines to be more human, right? So they're linking the analytics into the transhumanist program. And I sort of liken it like one of the big players in this is actually Epic Games. Epic Games was able to scale Fortnite with money from Tencent in China. Tencent is a major investor in the video game world, the virtual world. And it's sort of like the next iteration of the pick your own adventure books. You know, like there's different quests and different tasks, and you can come to different outcomes depending on different forks in the road, the choices that are made or the outcomes. But ultimately, it wasn't your book. Like you didn't write that book. You're in somebody else's book. You're in somebody else's game. And so if we accede to living in a world that is gamified, we're living in somebody else's game, and they know the rules and we don't. So I will just share this image. Like, I encourage people, especially if you care about nature and the environmental movement, because so much of it has been captured through corporate interests. This is the Internet of Bio-Nano Things. And this image from Ian Achildes, he's at Georgia Tech.
Okay, let's pause it. AI is their new scam? Of course it is. AI has been around for a lot longer. It's a lot more advanced what they're doing. I almost think like the Google AI rollout, where they were making it to where only certain certain colored people would get drawn from history, right? You know what I'm talking about. I love YouTube and how I can't just say things out loud. I almost feel like that's a scam. Like they did that on purpose to make us think that they're not as advanced as they are. I could be wrong. So Internet of Nano Things, IF, Alco. I hate big words. Okay, IF Achilles and JM Jornet. The Internet of Nano Things, i.e. Wireless Communication Magazine. So this is from December 2010, which is very interesting. So pervasive nano things would be like particles, dust particles. So nano phones, like our cell phones, nano, bio nano things in our brain. What did they do to try to create this? Voice controls everything. They're doing that now. Molecular communication, which they actually, so I'm going to tell a quick story. So my brother-in-law right now, he had to get a pacemaker after 2020. I can't imagine why he was having heart issues. But it's controlled. His doctor has access to it, right? At any time, his doctor can just decide to mess with the settings. No longer want this, right? He could totally mess with it if he was, can you imagine that your health and your life is controlled by a doctor somewhere else? No, thank you. No, thank you. I would say hell to no.
I mentioned him yesterday. This has been in the process for the last like 15 or 20 years. Now, I'm not in the tech space, so I don't know if these are people who are blowing hot air, that this is far from happening or not. Clearly, Georgia Tech is a major defense contracting research institution. But these powerful people who are using our tax dollars largely to do this research are imagining a cyber physical environment with nanobots and voice-to-skull technology in which we interface with our world through electrical signals intelligence, right? And it's very true. I'm still learning a lot of these things that we're clearly electrical beings living in an electrical world, and we're already engaging in electrical ways. Like we know that like the good feelings we feel when we're all here together and we're kind of on the same page, it feels good. And there's an electrical element to that. But what does that mean, that what they are building with their nanotechnology that Alana spoke to yesterday so clearly? So
now I want to know who spoke
yesterday. I just sort of visual when I was looking for, like, I feel like what they want to do is create husks of people, right? And then like gut us out and make their machines. And so just when I happened to be looking for virtual reality and different things in Arizona, and this zombie game came up, Arizona Spring. So I'm not a gamer. I don't know if this is a good game or not, but like it's a pretty great, it had an adult rating on it. So I sort of feel like we're against the Arizona Spring zombie apocalypse version versus like someone who's actually fighting for like a sacred, like a cultural connection to place and community. So that's sort of the game. So what is the board? So smart cities, that's something that Patrick knows very much about. And a lot of they're being run through space, run through these nanotechnologies. Essentially this idea, and we've heard in Nevada that they're talking about creating new cities now that are run by companies, like company towns, right? Coal towns, if you imagine the mining towns that are now, they're mining your body, right? And it's the tech companies that are setting them up. That the virtual world, the gamified world is the game board. And then really, literally the pieces in this game are our bodies from our both our cells and our frequencies. So, I really, I think I mentioned yesterday that I wanted to try to get out to that Vatican Telescope. But I feel like it is the sacred and profane engagement, right? And it is a scientism, again, when, and that's the interesting thing about this Vatican Telescope. Why is it the Vatican and Arizona State University so interested in space?
Lucifer allows astronomers to watch stars being born? Where does that from? The land and its people. Mount Graham is known to the San Carlos Apache as Dishnat, whatever, foreign word. The mountain is one of several which mark the boundaries of their sacred space. They view the mountain as the embodiment of spiritual energy rather than a specific place. The mountain has ancient, undisturbed burials, as well as being a source of medical plants and a location for ceremonies. It is also a landscape of enormous biological diversity, home to the endangered Mount Graham red squirrel. The University of Arizona, UA, selected Mount Graham as their choice location for 7 telescope observatory project in the 1980s and 1988. Okay, 1980s. In 1988, they succeeded in getting Congress to attach a rider to the Arizona-Idaho Conservative Act, which exempted the first 3 telescopes from any restrictions in the National Environmental Policies Act, NEPA, and the Endangered Species Act, ESA. UA law lawyers also argue that they are exempt from the National Historic Preservation Act. Interesting. And any other culture or environmental law that would apply to them. With the environmental and cultural concerns circumvented, UA proceeded to ignore and discredit the San Carlos Apache's claim to the mountain as a sacred place. What jerks. The Vatican, let's get into Gladio conspiracy here right now. Here, I've already read the top part. I'll put myself back on camera. Sorry. The Vatican, which has invested in the project, challenged the sacredness of the mountains based on the lack of structure or objects. The director of the Vatican Observatory, George Coney, wrote that efforts to protect Mount Graham consist of a kind of environmentalism and a real religiosity to which I cannot subscribe and which must be suppressed with all the force that we can muster. Okay, so anytime we start talking about Vatican, I automatically go to Operation Gladio. And I have come to learn tonight, after being in a Gladio space, that they use, like, a lot of the places where they use environment, right? They say, oh, you can't go up these hills, it's protected land. They protect land because that's where they hide a lot of their weapons in order to do their Gladio operations. So it could be anything, and their training. It's pretty crazy.
Is it just for is it a faith thing, or is it something else? Because we know that this game is going to be run from space. So this is an image from my friend Joseph's game that he's working on, and actually it's interesting because it reminded me a little bit of Salt Lake City, the mountains, or here I guess a little bit. And so he's building it, and so if you imagine the world being recreated as a game, actually there's a lot of work to be done. All of those tabs, all of those numbers, there's all sorts of math, and then you code, how people interact and how vehicles interact and what the behaviors are. It's coding. It literally is social engineering, but you're socially engineering a game in which X amount of stuff is fixed according to code, and then you enter real people who sign in and log in and play in this space. So this is sort of like transmuting a real landscape into this space that is not under our control. Again, the spatial web, this just talks about, if you look at the Spatial Web Foundation, I put this up here, it's worth looking at the report. Again, I do not know how close they are in this technology, but you can see in the lower version, the augmented reality, right? Someone walking in this pop-up. It's not unlike Minority Report. Like we've seen that when the guy walks through the mall and the messages pop up to him that are personalized to him. They're talking about hyperporting of users and smart assets between spaces. And so my understanding, again, I'm not a gamer, but that you can get to different parts of the game by like clicking through. You can port into different parts of the game, different quests, different elements. So really what we're looking at, like when you see on your social media, like little rooms, like do you want to create a room with someone? Like that's a portal, like you're like they're normalizing all of this, like you will hyperport into this room. And I mentioned yesterday about the blockchain transhumanist brains, like something in that room might not even be a human. It might be like the kitten printing toaster, in there that you're connecting to in your room to solve a global problem of climate crisis or something like that. So I want to say that the world is going to be mediated by contracts. I need people who are in the legal space or the accounting space to understand what they're building, because they're not going to need you to either when they get there. Okay. And it's going to start small. It's going to start like, okay, here's a signature for a smart contract, right? So this is the starting point. We as a state have acknowledged the smart contracts, but look, it's a signature. And who's going to say, well, that's a bad idea?
Wait, hold on. I gotta go back.
Because we're all locked in now. You can't go to the thing.
Oh, it did work, Julian. Yay. Okay, perfect.
ideas about where Adobe plays in this, but I think it's going to have something to do with these documents and smart contracts and navigating the virtual web. But if anybody afterwards has some, I'd like to know there's something going on with
Did
Adobe.
you send it?
But it's going to have something to do with these documents and smart contracts and
It says it's going back 5 seconds, but I don't believe it.
on a daily basis, having a lock on them. And then having a contract decide, depending on your level of access, whether or not you're able to engage with that material. So again, smart cities are the center. I know many people have done far deeper research into that program, that agenda, you know, as well as Rosa Koire, who has recently passed, which is very sad, just in her honor, acknowledging her work.
Rosa Koire.
Too. If we understand smart cities as following in the tradition of reservation systems, you know, where we put displaced people that we were inconveniently located in things that were places that we wanted to have access to. I think that is the model. And like, I never knew, like, this is just floating out, like, this is not hard to find about, you know, the mad scientist megacity map. Like, this is from 2012, right? So they know that they're going to put you in megacities. Like, we're not asking to all be in a megacity. I mean, I like my city. I'm not an anti-city person. Some people are like, oh, I'm definitely not a city person. But at the same time, the people in the cities aren't asking to be part of a mega region either. And this is in one of these documents about the megacities, they said they're going to have like mile-long corridors of orchards and parks so that they can mobilize the military between the giant sections of the mega regions. Like, they're going to keep cleared areas that aren't built up so that they can move their forces. It's pretty scary. And they talk about asymmetrical warfare. So what they talk about is they talk about warfare in an urban zone, which is really intense and challenging. And that is not unlike Cochise and Geronimo. Like,
so they're going to put us in smart cities, and they're going to war game what it's going to be like for us to go into urban war against each other. That's going to be interesting, huh?
In the mountains there, that was asymmetrical warfare. So they're learning those lessons, and then they're applying them to the smart city regions. So I mentioned yesterday, James Giordano, who's at...
Okay, so James Giordano, Neuroweapons 2014. So this is 2014, Neuro-ST, Influence and Deterrence Scenarios. Access neural systems, brain to mitigate, control social violence, and protect the police. I guarantee she spelled that wrong. Populace? I don't know. What we can do is proactive. No, provocative. Do you think I could? Yeah, I think I should start wearing my glasses when I do streams. I think I'm going blind. What we should do and how we should do so remains an issue.
Professor at Georgetown, he's talking about neuroweapons, right? Accessing people's minds. And we had talked previously about accessing the blood-brain barrier and nanotechnology.
Yep.
So they're talking about accessing neural systems to protect the polis, right?
What's the polis?
So if you're a threat to the smart city, you could become a target of a neurotech weapon. And that is the framing. And I think that is really important to understand, is that, you know, and how we should do it remains an issue. So they're sort of touting.
All right. When I don't know a definition, I'm assuming that you're simple like me, so we'll look it up. So polis, P-O-L-I-S, a city-state in ancient Greece, especially as considered in its ideal form of philosophical purpose. Interesting. What polis means. Citadel, city, or community. The Greek polis means citadel, city, or community, from a root meaning citadel or hilltop. Definition of polis, an ancient Greek city-state. Okay. Now we're learned. No more big words today.
That there's an ethical element of this, but don't think that they haven't already gameplayed the scenarios here. And again, you know, you guys got Gates setting up his smart city, right? So, you know, we
where's this at? So an update on Bill Gates' new smart city in Arizona. I didn't know that Bill Gates was building a smart city in Arizona. The billionaire purchased 24,000 acres outside of Buckeye in Arizona and an additional 2,800 acres in Buckeye. this is in 2020. Oh my goodness, I didn't know this. A few years ago, Bill Gates has announced plans to build a smart city outside of Buckeye in Arizona through his subsidiary Mount Lemon Holdings. Ooh, that's a new word, Mount Lemon Holdings. Mount Lemon Holdings. The billionaire spent $80 million to purchase more than 24,000 acres of land with plans to build a smart city, which will include housing, schools, offices, and retail. Since the purchase, there has been limited information on the development of the project. Oh, we got to look into that one. That one's going to be a good one.
It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. So again, I mentioned the Internet of Bodies. I ended up weirdly about 4 years ago in an angel investor meeting that I did not know about. It was an Evite I had like in my Google alerts. I still have Google alerts. It was like Internet of Things, smart cities, and pay for success. And it was a meetup at a co-working space in Washington that was connected to Microsoft and the IMF. And it was about all of those things. And the gentleman that ran this company was there, the Smart Internet of Things School. And it turned out it was a box lunch. There were only 12 people. Like I thought it was a big auditorium of people. And I was there with 3 other people who were,
Steve, he will not need a big military. He'll just have nanotechnology. He'll just sound off 5G at the perimeter or 6G, 20G. Problem solved. Or he'll have drones. He won't need an army. And he won't be there.
Clearly I was not an investor. And I called them out and I said, this is not okay. And this guy, he said, like, he ran some big network in Richmond, Virginia. And he said that he took his daughter's history class online because she didn't like history. And I said, now they'd know from behavioral biometrics it wasn't her, right? And he just looked at me. But they know what they're doing. They know what they're building. This was 3 or 4 years ago. So they're going to smart up your kids' school in every aspect, getting to them to and fro and what it is until they disappear to schools and they do it all to your house. This is a house. This is Casita. This is a model. If you've noticed, I don't know, in Philly, we have all sorts of pop-ups now. Pop-up.
So who else has built a smart house, guys? So look at this plan. I always hate to say this, but there was this guy that bought X that already has smart houses. His cars are smart. They drive without anybody directing them. I guarantee, like, you have to give, when you sign into X, you have to give them permission. There's a link that you have to actually turn off that says they can actually track your other devices that you've never logged into, even though they're not turned on, right? There's a place for you to opt out of that. It's on there all the time. So any device that I own is collecting analytics all the time. And that's just by being logged into X. Same with, I have a Microsoft Edge computer. Every time I log into my computer, even though I've disabled Microsoft Edge as my browser, it still pops up. And every single time that Microsoft Edge pops up, also I have to go through and get rid of McAfee, the #1 spy thing. I always have to go through, and I don't ever click on it. I actually go into my control panel and manually end it so I don't accidentally accept it, because they trick you. They trick you into saying yes because they have their buttons wrong on purpose. They do it on purpose, but it's just spying all the time. You got backups.
You know
what I was talking about.
And pop-up, they often use these cargo containers, and so these cargo containers are sold. There's a video, it's like mid-century modern luxury, right? Like, look, you can pull out your bed, you can pull out your TV, you can do, and essentially, but they're like, yeah, here's 60 Internet of things that are embedded in your casita, and they're selling them as like in-laws.
Oh my gosh, so my son is a 9th grader, terrible at math, right? So he doesn't get credit for going to school. So his 9th grade year, March 15th, they're doing homeschool learning, and that's the last quarter of the year. Well, 6 weeks before the quarter ends, he's like, Mom, and he has to pass his class to play football. And I just trusted that he was doing his homework, right? And so I gave each of my kids got a bailout from me because I know my stuff, right? So Julian, you just made me think of this. So I literally did a year, pretty much a year's worth of math. That kid got an A- in math in 6 weeks. Just saying. His mom is smart, but they're gonna know. If they didn't know it was me at the time, because that was 4 years ago, they probably did. He got an A-, but yeah. I don't know why I thought that story was funny, but I think it's funny. I still give him crap about it.
Suites. Oh, it's so cool. You can have your mom in the back. But they said, we're going to roll these things off like cars because it's all prefab. So we need to keep a very close eye on manufactured housing industry, because how are they going to build the megacities? It's going to be printing offsite, trucked, and then installed rapidly. And even in Philadelphia, a lot of the gentrification is happening with prefab housing in part, but it's not to this point. And you can see that is actually from their logo.
Jobathon, how do I get access to that app? Tell me how. I have a program that can uninstall system apps and system Google carrier apps you cannot install. Oh my gosh, I would love that, because every time my computer does an update, I have to go through and see what new apps got automatically uploaded onto my computer.
It's stack and pack. When we talk stack and pack, they are literally developing infrastructure to stack and pack those things, because you're not getting out of them. Like once they put you in there, you're on the 3rd floor. You think you're going down? No, the QR code is not letting you down very often. You're in the zoo. So, I don't want this to happen, but people need to know that these things, all of these pieces are rolling, right? So how do you get to move? Well, that's the social credit. That's the geofencing from the satellites. You'll hear a lot of discussion now about.
Oh, is that why they're destroying our housing market too? There's so many things are being destroyed. And these are just, guys, I'm speculating out loud. These are my thoughts. This is where my brain goes. I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is just my brain goes there. Think about it though. Like was it last year? My daughter's been working 2 jobs. She wanted to get into a house. She's young. So she was building her credit. She was saving her money for down payment. And she started looking for houses, and I was worried that she was going to be dumb and be impulsive. So I said, go get pre-qualified for a loan, see how much of a house you can purchase. So she gets pre-qualified for a house loan. 1 week later, the interest rate rose to 5%, and there's nothing in her price range now. So she can't qualify based off of her income, unless she were to, be house poor the rest of her life. Are they doing that? Making it so the only choice is to go into a fabricated home? I even suggested that to her. Why don't you go get a fabricated home and go put it on, because she has an acre of land. She inherits one. Go put it on an acre of land. Just go live in a modular home. What's wrong with that, right? I'll be fine. I'm used to having a small home, but I don't want a house that, I refuse to get a smart fridge, a smart thermostat. I refuse. I can go upstairs and change it myself. Just saying.
Mobility solutions. And again, a lot of it is time to climate, right? Like we can't have our own cars. Now, listen, I like to take the bus. I like to ride my bike. I like to do these things, right? Do I want to have my mobility solution limited because Uber took over the public transit system? And now if I don't have a medically compliant QR code, I'm not going to be able to access any of their solutions? No, I don't want that. I want the city that I came to, which is a city with services, even though they were rather inadequate, that are under the control of the people, not private investors. So the MyPass project is really important to know about. I wrote about this last April, and I'm really hoping that the medical, freedom, the health choice community understands the breadth. So
I don't like it that she doesn't talk about her slides. She puts a slide up, but then she doesn't talk about it. It kind of bothers me. Let's see if I can read it better if I blow it up on here. Yes, I can. I can read it big right here. Okay. The MyPass project, funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, pioneering ideas in technology and health grant, will create a blockchain-enabled platform that stores, secures, validates, and automatically packages personal documents, facilitating resident access to social and health services, especially vital to ending homelessness, such as housing benefits and access to Medicare. What state was it that put up little shanty shacks? Was that Washington, or was that California? I'll have to look and see now. During the 1-year grant period, the project team will work with clients and service providers to develop and test a minimum viable product for a blockchain-based digital platform, MyPass, that will allow people experiencing homelessness to securely and permanently store, validate, and automatically package and submit information needed to access health and social services. See, they already started to take advantage of the people who are poor, right? Digital documents will be linked to an account accessible on any device, and a client will always retain complete ownership of personal information, so they say, even after no longer being homeless or after receiving care from providers, and will be able to remove any references to personal data from the blockchain platform at any time. That's BS. You know they will always have a backup stored. You know this. MyPass is intended to empower clients with their own history, enable self-advocacy, and catalyze client-centered care. Nice. And I can't read whatever's over there. That is way too small for my old grandma eyes. Sorry, not happening. All right. Huh. Okay. I'm gonna have to look into that, Jonathan.
Really hoping that the medical, freedom, the health choice community understands the breadth. So the medical passporting system, the biometric system, is meant for this much larger program to track you as a player in the smart city. That is the reason when people say, why is this happening? Yes, it is about health, because ultimately the cell therapies are towards this transhumanist program and they want to control you inside and out, but they need you on blockchain, or if not blockchain, some sort of interoperable database tracking system for the predictive analytics, and they're going to get you there. So Robert Woods Johnson Foundation teamed up with Bloomberg in Austin to put on.
So predictive analytics. Remember predictive analytics, guys. That's going to be something that will come up. Pay attention to those words. All right. Did she just put up the same picture? Yes, she did. I thought it was. I was just making sure.
Housed people on blockchain. Now, ostensibly, it was to put their healthcare records on there, and it did not involve a sensor necessarily. It was a laminated QR code that tied to their biometrics and their health data. Okay, so they call it MyPass. MyPass. Like, it should be very clear. And I will say a lot of the conversations around IBM and the Excelsior Pass have focused a lot on the Hollerith cards, which are important. But the piece that doesn't get surfaced nearly as often is that IBM technology was used to enforce the apartheid system in South Africa. And in many respects, that's the more apt program at the moment, is the pass system and IBM's connection to the mobility, right? If depending on who you are is how you're connected. So the EU is doing the digital vaccines. The IDEMIA.
Really? I didn't know that they were doing digital vaccines there. Let's take a looky, see what. So AIMS protocol implements a secure self-sovereign identity management system, Secure ID for beneficiaries, which allows social organizations to keep track of the people they are serving, and they can keep track of the people they're serving. How sweet are they? And to give beneficiaries a proper voice in how their project is managed. It also gives funders reassurance that projects. It also gives funders reassurance that projects are supporting real people, and allows different social organizations that are serving the same beneficiaries to collaborate more effectively, while ensuring that each beneficiary's privacy is fully protected. We stand for augmented identity. So 7 EU countries just got a digital vaccine passport. Oh my goodness. How do I look at that? Not with these eyeballs. So enhanced, adaptable, strengthened, and self-sovereign identity that creates a safer world for everyone. I do want to read this one. Let me make it bigger. And how it went on here. My phone, it does. I'll have to take a picture of that and make it bigger for another show, because that looks like it's important, because she doesn't talk at her slides. That's the only thing that bothers me, because Why have slides if you don't talk at them?
If you've flown anywhere lately, you'll notice the kiosk was probably an Idemia kiosk. That's a French company. I think it's probably tied to the Rothschilds through France. They're developing augmented identity and digital driver's licenses. So that is coming. The piece at the top is from a blockchain poverty management protocol called Alice SI. And they talk about developing the self-sovereign identity management systems, which allows social organizations to track people. Okay. You have to understand that the nonprofit institutions, as well as the government support systems, it's all being weaponized. It's all being weaponized. And this will be the other piece of this, and I will go into this later, is that faith communities are often providers of social services. And so they are being drawn into this too. And they're going to have to make a really clear choice about serving people and expanding their mission, whether it's on blockchain or not, and whether they're allowing dispossessed people to be bet upon as commodities. And in my position is I don't think people of true faith would think that that is an appropriate way to treat a fellow human being as a commodity for investment, but people are going to have to get really clear about that pretty soon. So can we play this one? So this is an augmented reality clip. I think it's 1.5 minutes. That's the mobility solution. That's the key. Share, that's the sharing economy. Payments, digital payments. Overcome barriers. That's an interesting one. So she's playing with that fountain. That's the augmented cities.
How exciting. Oh, we're gonna go for a drive. If I'm going through an augmented city, I don't want any other cars on the road.
We know what that is. One ring to rule them all, folks. So yeah, so there we go. So they're telling you what's coming. Yeah. So again, I'm not a tech person. I do not have a good sense of how close this all is, or whether these are ads, that they're very close. Like I know that they have pilot programs where they have people as commodities on blockchain, how scalable it is. But they're not keeping it hidden what, sorry. Oh, okay. They're not keeping it hidden what their ultimate goal is. If we don't say we don't want that, right? And they want us to want it. And they want the children to want it too. That's the thing. They want the children to want this. So again, if you notice, the leitmotif has been very much about hexagons, right? Hive mind, but it's also the most efficient use of space and tiling, which I think is really interesting from a gamification. The Settlers of Catan board game is hexagons, and Uber uses hexagons to tile the world.
My gosh.
So I'll just emphasize that Uber is not a ride-sharing company. Uber is a geofencing company. Okay. That's what these companies are. They're not ride sharing. They're about not letting you on if you're not compliant. It's a geofencing company. Their mobility solutions will take over public transit systems. They will not let you have your own car. And then that's how it's going to go. So again, leveraging data to predict behavior. I just mentioned about the space. They're going to control this stuff from space. There was a Harvard Business Review article early last April.
Oh, I got to pause just in time for she goes off her slide because she likes to do that. So these 7 Arizona companies are quietly leading in space exploration and commercialization, leveraging data to predict behavior. So they want to predict our behavior because that's the whole goal, is using humans as commodities, is they're betting on your ability to succeed. So this person's saying, oh, this person is going to succeed if I give them these interventions. And this person is saying, I don't think that she's going to succeed. So when she does succeed, does this person take me out? I don't know, but that's kind of what they're saying. We need to understand risk of transmission at the hyper local level and the likelihood of adherence for specific geographies and subpopulations. In settings with limited individual level health data, we will need to leverage available sources. For example, artificial intelligence company Macro Eyes uses satellite imagery, digital conversations, and publicly available data to predict within 70%, 76% accuracy which child will drop out of routine immunization programs. What if your child never entered that program, huh? See? Wonder why I always had a bad feeling about I only took my kids to the hospital if they had a broken leg.
April that said that they were going to
Or stitches.
They suggested using Macro Eyes technology, which I believe is an Israeli company, to use satellite imagery to predict routine immunization.
What a shocker that it's a company from Israel. Very interesting.
From space, African children. This was framed as an equity issue. Okay, so they're already using satellites to track children from space as an equity issue, right? So that's Harvard Business Review, guys. I mean, I'm not making, this is not a crappy source. This is like they're telling you what they're doing. So again, you guys have the ride sharing, and I would.
Okay, so we have Waymo will allow more people to ride it in its fully driverless vehicles in Phoenix. We will have a driver for you, and you all can cram inside. Or driverless, which means there's not a driver. Oh, creepy.
Highly recommend, if you're looking for a sci-fi book, there's a book called Rainbow's End by Werner Vinge. He's a professor emeritus of UC San Diego, math and computing. He was the one who postulated the singularity. He's written a lot of science fiction books. Rainbow's End talks about a near future dystopia of augmented reality, where everyone wears and the world everybody sees differs depending on how they program it. And people aren't allowed to have their own cars. All the cars are autonomous, and you have to, be able to be allowed to get in them. I will say, I know there's a lot of back and forth about, the US, China policies. I will just want to reemphasize that a lot of the social
cities in China are using blockchain to track parolees. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. I'm surprised we're not doing that here. Don't they give them... At least 2 cities are using blockchain technology to track offenders on parole. CCN has learned in the city of Foshan. A report from May indicates that officials would like to deck their system out with bracelets similar to those issued in Western countries. So we already have ankle monitors for people being on a house arrest. All they would have to do is put a Fitbit type like thing on someone. They do it already. Everyone right now who has a smartwatch, which I refuse to have one. I refuse to get a Fitbit. I can tell if my heart rate's where it needs to be when I work out. I don't need something to tell me that I need to do that. It's tracking every step, where you go, all your parameters. It's just, and I've always been really, really weird about it. And my guy got me a Ring doorbell for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I had it in the box for an entire year. He's like, why haven't you put that up yet? I'm like, because if I put that up, they're going to hear everything I say, like everything I do. He's like, oh, you only need to worry about that if you're a criminal. I'm like, okay. So I capitulated. And then I was like, after 3 months, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm disabling this thing. I still have it. I haven't put batteries in it, but I'm sure even though it's wired, they can still use it.
The credit scoring apparatus originated in the United States, and Strive Together has this social emotional learning task force, and I'm trying to remember Rosenberger, his last name is, I think it's Larry Rosenberger. He's on the social emotional learning task force for Strive Together, and he was the head of the FICO scoring system for 30 years and is now into every behavioral analytics company on every board, right? So if it's one thing to point fingers at China, and certainly they have a situation that allows them to pilot things in ways that are much more seamless. But we also have to kind of, don't throw rocks. If you're living in a glass house, guys, we started a lot of this, and a lot of it's.
People don't realize that a lot of this stuff is taking place. If you look at what they're doing to New York, and you look what they're doing to California and Seattle, if you look at Portland, Portland, if you look at these cities, they're already starting to, they're going to make it crazy enough that people are going to want and beg for their, she just said, parolees, someone out of prison, right? Now, if you come across the border, they'll just put an ankle monitor on you, right? Track you, trace you. They get a smartphone. Why do they get a smartphone? I wonder why. I don't know.
Running through the IEEE, International Electrical Engineers and Engineering Association. They're doing a lot of pilots in China. So they were actually already tracking social credit scoring behavior with people on parole. So imagine you get a workforce pathway, you get a remediation pathway, you're put on it, and then they know by where you check in with your QR code or where you checked in with your digital tablets, where if you're compliant to that program. They also in China, they had a QR code mobility solution bike, where if you didn't put your bike back in the proper place because people are dropping those scooters and bikes everywhere and littering the sidewalks, like they dock 2 points on your credit score. So these Internet of Things systems are already happening in small ways.
Internet of Things.
And then we've got the Advanced Mobility Collective, and this is out of, I think, NC State. And, you know, they're talking about the packages and all of these things being delivered, you know, the 5G technology and the Internet of Things and how amazing it's going to be. But no one really understands, like, we need to have like a really...
Did anyone ever envision a drone dropping off a package at your house? That image just has a drone dropping a package off at your house. What?
Heart-to-heart conversation with ourselves about like drone warfare, people, because, you know, at this point, like the chickens come back to roost a little bit on that, right? Like we never really thought about drones being used against us, but, you know, it's not all just packages and medicine that they're delivering. They're also collecting all sorts of data and intelligence with that. So this is kind of a thing. I will credit Sophia Smallstrom on this because she was the one who introduced me to the idea of piezoelectric human energy harvest. But this goes very much to what Patrick was saying about within the technocracy element, that there's an input-output and a balanced ledger system, which again, blockchain, right? Is that what they're going to use for it? So they're already talking.
I kind of wish that I would have known who spoke. I would like to know what information they talked about. She keeps alluding to it, but I don't know the reference to it. Smart shirt for indication and detection of respiratory infections such as COVID-19. Parasylitic power harvesting in shoes. So they're just talking about having nanotechnology, whether it be in your shirt, whether it be in your shoes. So we were talking about nanotechnology particles the other day. They've actually come up with the dust that they can already put underneath our roadways to where they can monitor traffic going in and out of place. Yeah, I kind of think that they're going to, they say China, but honestly, do we really know what China's doing? Or is that just what our government tells us China's doing? There's not a lot of people who actually go in there and actually know what's going on. There's a lot of times I hear people from China talk. They're like, that's not at all. Cause like I made a comment on a post about China and being on a social credit score system. And she says, I live here and that's not necessarily the case. So I wonder how much of this is propaganda and how much is really, really real. Not saying it's not, it just makes me wonder.
Talking about, this was in 2013, I think, parasitic power harvesting in shoes. And if you don't think like all the high-end shoe manufacturers are into piezoelectric, they're talking about sensors in pavement. Every single little tap you make, they want to harvest all of that, because how are they going to run their virtual universe? They need every scrap of energy they can get to build it and keep it going. The first social impact bond for health has started now out of Sweden. It is done in conjunction with Social Finance Israel. They are...
All right, hold on. I got to pause for a sec. This is very interesting because my body is, so this is what Jonathan says is Jobathan. Gosh. Well, I mean, they want, no, that's not, sorry. Think right. Nanotech has been put into supplements for 15 to 20 years. And you know, what's really interesting is as when I was an athlete and when I was in my younger days as a personal trainer, I used to take supplements, right? And then I quit taking them. And when I quit taking them, my body felt so much better. And I'm talking about protein shakes, creatine, vitamins. I still take vitamins, but I get them from it's called Standard Process. They make their supplements from real food, whole foods, organic food. They're a little bit more costly, but they also aren't overloaded with stuff your body doesn't need. But ever since I quit taking those supplements, I feel better. Like I don't get bloated. I don't have stomach issues. I don't know. Very interesting. You just said that.
Connected to an entity that's doing pilots with smart shirts and smart technology, nanotechnology wearables with Stanford. Like they've got new factories in Portugal. Like this is a global thing. Like for any of us to sort of still be also like when we say, let's not think about it in partisan terms. Like I think there's one thing to say that we need to celebrate our local communities and our identities, but it needs to be in solidarity with everyone else because nobody is an island. You can't stop the internet of bodies because it's run from space at this point. So we need to have solidarity with that. But they're developing the tech now. And this someone shared with me this week, which is just devastating. And this was from the Netherlands in 2018. They're harvesting human body heat to run blockchain. And you can see it says speculative capital with Bitcoin.
That's interesting is, so I don't know if you guys know that every 10 minutes, your electric company does a power surge. And through that power surge, they can see where you're at in your house. If you have a smart meter, which I didn't know this, I need to see if I can have my smart meter disabled. When I started turning off my electric, it's like I don't sleep with I used to sleep with an electric blanket at night. When I started turning it off, I wake up way more refreshed. When I was leaving it on, just think every 10 minutes, a surge of electricity is going through. And yeah, my phone not being plugged in by my nightstand has made a huge difference as well. It's kind of crazy, but they're zapping. That's why a lot of people, they're making us have brain fog and tired. If you notice, you're tired. You're more tired than normal.
Next to it.
I am
they
anyway.
had a vest and there would be this sensor vest. And like, you know, people like, I mean, imagine that out here, right? Like if you get sweaty and like they harvest your sweat to power the blockchain. But like, these are the things. And like, on the one hand, you're like, well, that doesn't seem scalable. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm the expert in this, but what I'm saying is I'm up for asking ethical questions. Picture a warehouse of.
Trust me, think right. I'm already demonized. I'm already like penalized for the way I think. Like none of my stuff gets pushed out because and that's why I haven't done a lot of stuff on YouTube because I don't want to censor my words. Like this stuff might be far out there and maybe this stuff never happens, but would we like to know about it just in case? Would we like to be prepared just in case? You know, all of her information is backed up by data. And she doesn't, I'm surprised she only has 20,000 followers. I'm going to try to figure out how to get her name out there because she has some good content.
Of dispossessed, unhoused people with their blockchain laminate card being tucked in at night and plugged into the blockchain. Like it really is the matrix. It's not that far off of the matrix. And if we are not willing to have the integrity across the political scenario, because I don't think any of us humans who stand for life would accept that that is a future we want for anyone, right? So heads up, that's coming. The other thing is like piezoelectricity in the pineal gland, which is something I need to know more about. And any of you medical people, like I know about calcification, but when I'm seeing things like using like transducers and piezoelectricity in your brain, and I know about these brainwave headbands, I'm like, what is going on with that? Like, are they actually not only going to be your blinking, like they want to put nanowires on your eyelids and your throat. So when you swallow, you're creating energy and they're capturing it to power ostensibly your wearable device. But, and who knows how much energy that's going to create. But what if your thoughts, would they harvest the energy of your thoughts? And, we have BrainCo. BrainCo's already developed these. These are being framed as like biofeedback devices, again, which a lot of people in alternative health systems like biofeedback. So this seems like a nice thing unless it's a parasite on your brain. And I would say a lot of the selling of this is around social justice issues where they're triggering, and this is directly through the United Nations. They have virtual reality initiatives around.
Oh, the United Nations. I'm so surprised that they would be involved in something like this. Really? That really shocks me.
Issues of refugees. I mean, serious issues. I am not in no way diminishing the nature of the issue, but they are creating essentially mental propaganda to like create crisis feelings in people's minds. In this thing, it's someone, I think they're standing in a food line and he has a heart attack. And then it's like, you're supposed to role play what you do with a guy on the sidewalk with a heart attack. And you can see the guy in the virtual reality headset. It's like he's watching it. And so the measurable behavior change that is part of the game is part of all of this. So that's really predatory. I mean, that's incredibly, especially once we understand, USC Institute of Creative Technologies is Hollywood.
Jonathan, you're cracking me up because you're saying all these things in this chat. Okay. Let's be careful with the words we use though, because we don't want to get my YouTube channel banned. Okay. Because all the stuff you're saying, we all just about know about, but let's try not to get me banned. But you're cracking me up because you'd have to go. I don't know if you've ever been on my Rumble channel, but I go into a lot, I go into a lot more detail about those different organizations and who funds them. Actually, 13 of my videos did get deleted. Well, because I did cover them. I don't know anyone else who's had 13 videos deleted from Rumble. And I do bring that up because people need to know that you can fight amongst each other. You just cannot talk about what's really going on.
Plus the Army Research Lab. So who's running the game? A lot of these folks, you know, military, state intelligence, World Economic Forum, United Nations, hedge funds, media, tech, pharma, faith communities. And I always say, like, in the bigger scheme of things, because I feel it's unifying, is the predator energy. And that's something John Trudell, who is a leader in the American Indian movement, he always spoke of the predator energy that seeks to mine the being part of human. And I think at the baseline, it is this, whatever you want to call that, whether you want to give it something that's related to your faith practice or whatever, but there is something out there that is anti-life. Who's doing this? So, I would bump into these things early on and not really know.
Jonathan, I don't know what words, just real quick, I don't know what words YouTube likes, and that's kind of why I've stayed away from it. So I know that people's chats have gotten people banned before. So there are certain things that you can't talk about. There's a lot of things pertaining to 2022. So I use code words. I don't use the real words, right? And I don't know. Yes, they censor a lot of things. So I'm just saying. I know what you're saying. Just give it a different name, and I'll understand. Call it evil tyrants. I don't get it. When we know who, at least I know who you're talking about.
Like, know it was bad and not really understand what was going on. So our school superintendent, William Haidt, was sitting as an education advisor on the board of Ridge Lane LP Limited Partners, the venture development at the apex of the public and private sector. So just like this is bipartisan, it runs on public-private partnerships. It is a P3, it is a fascist structure. It's a corporate governance structure.
P3.
And so what they're into, they're the deal makers for these pay for success projects. And they're into real estate, IT.
So pay for success projects. Just remember that. Are you being serious? Think right? Bitch, you stop being it? Really? Wow. Good evening, Mr. Duggar Fishing. Mr. Duggar, hi, how are you? I had to look at your name for just a second to know who you were. Welcome.
Sustainability and education. Yeah, education, right? And so they got a whole stable of bipartisan former governors, former elected officials. They've got all sorts of Army generals, and they've got, think tank people, and they got a ton of people, I think, from KPMG or Deloitte. Like these guys, they got everybody on there. Ridge is Tom Ridge, our former governor and the first head of Homeland Security, and his sidekick, R. Brad Lane, is doing some sort of like neurocognitive fellowship at Stanford, right? Go figure. I don't know what he's doing over there, but it's probably not good. So again, the UN, like we know that the UN Sustainable Development Goals are the game. That's the rules of the game. You guys have a presence here. I know it looks like it's just in a shopping center. You might want to
remember all of these names. Just so you know, all of these names of all these companies that she's putting up on slides right now, they are all funded. And even the people you were talking about earlier, Jonathan, they're all funded by the same huge micro penis guy that created Microsoft. That guy funds all of them. UNICEF, the WHO, the UK, whatever version of that is. He's going full-fledged with this smart city in Arizona right now.
I keep an eye on it. I don't really know how far that goes, but I think there's stuff that's often connected to the universities. We know about the globalization, the World Economic Forum. This is being tied to the dispossession of people's meaningful life work to robots and algorithms. And that's the next phase. And it
algorithms.
Private. So that's the impact. Whenever you see impact, that's the game. We're in the
impact.
Game, if you need a heads
impact.
Up. The other piece of this is just, and you guys are familiar with the pharma industry as in and of itself, like beyond the human capital bonds, which I think Many people who understand the harm of big pharma haven't yet made the connection, expanded their view to the human capital bonds and the behavioral analytics. But if you understand that big pharma is now moving into digital therapeutics, which is prescription gaming, and also the biotech. So when I went to
digital therapeutics, are you serious? Guys, yes. Oh my gosh. FGG Jedi. Is it Jedi? FGG Jedi? That is funny. For the first time in my life, I paid attention to the sky because in Utah, planes fly. If you're a corporate plane, because of the mountains, you have to fly in and out of the state in a certain pattern because of the mountains and the wind and whatever. So it's very rare to see a plane come from, from northwest to southeast. It's very rare to see a plane fly overhead. So I actually looked up at the sky when I was coming home today. I even got my camera out and took a video of it. I've never, ever, everyone's always talking about cloud seeding and all that stuff. I'm like, whatever. No, the sky was clear today. And within, was it 5 hours? 5 hours later, it was cloudy outside. It was I don't know. Geoengineering, just a little bit. But it was clear as day because the sky was so clear when I looked up, and you can see it just going across the sky, 2 streams. And I see, chemtrails. Thank you. That's what I meant to say. Chemtrails. And when people say, my brother and my dad was even into this stuff a long time ago. And I used to think he was nuts. Okay. This was like 15 years ago. I had to block him on Facebook because I thought he was a weirdo. Now I need to call him up and maybe apologize to him, but probably not going to happen.
To Salt Lake City in January, and I said, hey, like Utah, you guys have 1,000 biotech companies in your state. How are they going to grow? Like literally, because like every state wants to be economically viable, right? You've got 1,000 of these. That's a lot. How do they grow? So they are either going to grow because you have ever more people sick, or you can compel people who are not sick to use your product, because that's their product. It's a product around the body. It's this human plus. Right. So, I mean, if Salt Lake City had 1,000, I mean, Arizona's bioscience has 2,100. So you guys are really deep.
I've got to read what she said real quick, because when it pertains to my state, I get a little bit more curious. So Arizona's bioscience industry is growing rapidly and reached nearly 30,000 jobs, spanning 22,160 business establishments in 2018. Industry employment has grown by 15% since 2016, twice the growth rate of the nation. With each of the 5 major subsectors adding jobs during the period, Arizona's universities conducted nearly $580 million in R&D activities in bioscience-related fields in 2018, fueled in part by steadily increasing NIH awards to Arizona. NIH, really? The NIH is involved? I wonder, who? That was in 2018, so who was in charge? Our favorite Dr. Ouchie? NIH awards to Arizona institutions since 2016. Venture capital investments in Arizona bioscience companies increased in 2019. And during the 2016-2019 period, totaled $349 million. And who's in Arizona? Who just bought property there? Mr. Bill Gates. Remember how many acres he just bought there? Arizona investors have been awarded 2,178 bioscience-related patents since 2016, among the second quintile of states in patent activity.
Into the biotech, and that's the question. If you're building a global, do you want to build it on something that's going to keep you compromised? So again, the game is collective impact. The maze, it's about, again, beyond managing your health, managing your skills, right? And I think the skills, as I mentioned with the virtual reality, is about giving you a task and having you go through the motions, knowing you're probably never going to get to do that job. They're going to say, we've got all the future of work. We've got all these jobs. We have to reskill everyone. No, because those jobs, they're not going to let you have those jobs. Like by the time you get done, they'll say, oh, guess what? That skill is out of date. Could you do a new skill? And so, meanwhile, they're going to harvest your essence, like your soul, how you move, your biometrics to feed the robots. And this has been set up for a really long time. So this goes back to Mark Tucker. Anybody in the education space knows he's the one who wrote the Dear Hillary letter. And I have to say, as someone.
Oh, I was going to read the Dear Hillary letter. I forgot that I saved that. Dang it. I don't think I took a screenshot of it. I'll have to look it back up. Maybe we'd have to do a whole entire series on it. Oh, yes. Mr. FGG Jedi, they're 100% lying to us about everything. 100%. That's why it's hard. Like sometimes some of this stuff seems so far out there. You're like, no, this is never going to happen. And then you cover, like I used to not cover stuff like this because I'm like, people are thinking I'm crazy. Well, okay, you can think I'm crazy. I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying this information's out there. The information's out there. This is not information that she just came up with in her head. These are things out there. If you look at what the projects are and who's funding them, you know it's not of nature. And yeah, they're doing so much to make everything so expensive. I don't eat sugar very much. Like I don't really, and I don't do dairy. Yesterday, I'm like, I am just craving a Heath vanilla milkshake from our local little, place where you can get shakes. And it was for a medium sized, it was $7.84. $7.84 for a medium shake. They used to cost $3.23 for a large. It was nuts.
On the left, like I do have to strongly appreciate the conservatives who have been calling this out for years because you were right. You were very right, right? He's a very bad guy, right? I mean, I will admit I did not want to, but it's hard because we're meant to be in each other's boxes and not know. And so I can't look at that. That's American Eagle. No, you can. You have to read the letter. It's in the congressional record and it tells you exactly what they're doing now, which is an apprenticeship program. But what they're not saying is the apprenticeship program was to put you in a haptic suit and train the robots. So this is being done with the Chamber of Commerce. And that's where I have a bit of a, back and forth with folks. Like, yeah, it's the UN, but it's also IBM and it's also Exxon and it's also Raytheon. It is a global corporate structure that wants to remake life in a way that they can play God and control. So again, I mentioned the Federal Reserve is part.
What's up, traveling fools? Hello, hello. I sent you a link. But we're probably going to be finishing soon, but you're welcome to join if you want. I sent it to your DM.
The pathways of moving. The United Way is a central part of this collective impact. Whenever you see collective impact, they are running the Alice project. They have captured all of the media. I mean, I think we're all living through knowing what media capture looks like. But even before that, solutions journalism came out of the New York Times op-ed. It's funded by all the same people funding what we're living through right now in terms of the silencing and deplatforming, all these major foundations. And they're going to sell us on poverty management, which is not to say that poverty isn't a huge issue. It's going to be a bigger issue. But the way in which they want it managed is going to be very harmful. And a lot of that is tied to the Knight Foundation. And again, that's out of ASU, that's underwritten by them. And they're working in Tucson again on immigration issues that people care about. Like these are all issues we should care about, but we should care about them in a way that doesn't put people into a technocratic video game. So I've mentioned this before. Who does the social services? Oftentimes it's faith communities, all kinds.
All right. I followed you, FGG Jedi. However, I don't know if I can follow you if you're a vegan. That's anti-science.
Right. And then often faith communities that are in positions of having large endowments, they want to be the good people, right? They want to invest their money in things that are good. And they're going to say, you should invest in these pre-K bonds. They're really good. They take care of kids.
Social impact faith institutions. Guys, every time you see social impact or impact tied with something else, you guys need to really pay attention to what they're doing. Simple, secure, and transparent. That is their thing. So secure and transparent. Simple, secure, open, transparent. Community care system, the blockchain application, the social impact. I did some digging into this company. I actually messaged the guy who's running for governor who I was liking because I wanted to know his opinion on that. And he didn't get back to me because if he's voting for any social impact, anything, I'm not going to campaign. I'm not going to promote him. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm voting for this guy. I'll be done.
And what I'm showing up, like I went to the Unitarians in Philadelphia and they have the Black Lives Matter banner. And I said, but you need to ask, like when you invest your endowment, if you're investing in things like pre-K social impact bonds, does it come with a surveillance play table? Like you have to peel it back a little more because you can't just do the feel good thing. Like, oh, I'm doing the green thing or the kid thing. Like, no, because if it's run on data, if it's a collective impact project, you know, I went to one of these forums with Total Impact and all of these suits, people going in to plan all of this out. It was on May 1st in 2018.
Total Impact.
But me, myself, my little, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I told this guy, I said, they're not things to be impacted. The poor are not things that you can impact. They're not your things. They're not things. And it's like, he never thought.
They're making people poor so they can impact us. That's the goal. They want us poor so that we will be desperate so they can control us. They're doing such a good job of it. They are doing such an amazing job right now of making every single one of us poor. Because if we're poor, they can't control us, right? Just wild.
Thought about it. He never thought about it that way. So I will just say this community care system, please look at it, especially if you're part of a faith community or you lean libertarian. This is out of a paper in Idaho. And they're saying like, this is how blockchain is going to get the government off your back. Okay. So they're saying, look, invest in your community. And yesterday we had a very nice discussion about local currency. It's not this. I don't think this is how we want to invest in our people, is on blockchain as a commodity that has trustless trust that's on a machine. But that's what they're pushing. And so people need to know that. This is from the...
People think that blockchain is going to be the thing. All these people making so much money off of blockchain. Maybe they'll be the ones spared. I don't know. Maybe they will. Children housing, mental health, housing, global aid. The Alice donation protocol implements a payment by results system. So payment by results, whereby social organizations only receive money from donors if they can prove that their project has achieved its goal. If they fail to do so, donors receive a refund. Graphically, the system can be represented as follows. Okay, we've seen this before, but we'll let her explain it.
Alice platform. This is a blockchain platform in the United Kingdom. It was actually funded by Nominet Trust. And Nominet Trust was the entity that was spun off from the entities that gave all the IP addresses. It was the corporate foundation. So you imagine the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bio-Nano things. The people who are signing the addresses are gonna have lots of power and money. So they're setting up, this is how you invest in poor people on blockchain. And it's both children, housing, mental health, and global and humanitarian aid, because many of these programs are tested in the global aid space first, Syrian refugees in particular. So you can see on this LSI paper that they're talking about a secondary exchange market with trading contracts to provide liquid investments. Okay, that's the securitization of poor people. Okay, because they can't just wait to see if they fix you or not. They need to trade it later. But the trading and the value of that trade is going to depend on you as a character in the game and what your real-time value and your social credit score is based on the geofencing and the satellite positioning and whether you're complying or not. So yeah, again, just to reemphasize, anything that is an investable commodity, once it's securitized, can also be shorted. Okay, and I mentioned yesterday the income sharing agreements that are tied to the New Jersey career impact bonds with social finance. That platform they're going to use probably to securitize that debt was set up by Edley and is set up by Christopher Riccardi. And I mean, Wall Street Journal says it straight up. The grandfather of CDOs trying to do for higher education what he did for mortgages. Okay. So yeah, so it's also the Vatican. We know that they had a big conference recently. They have 3 social impact conferences, 2014, 2016, 2018. They've been working on a long time. One of these, social finance is embedded, Omidyar Network is embedded, and Sister Helen Alford is an economist. And in one of the talks, she says, you know, it's going to be really great.
Isn't income sharing the same as paying my taxes? Who's the income going to go to, guys? Oh, what to watch this week? The Second Vatican Conference on Impact Investing. The Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope. Oh, I know too much about Gladio. I know too much about the Vatican. I know too much about these people. Like when I'm thinking that this like kind of is far-fetched, then I start thinking, no, it's kind of not. These same people are involved.
The Catholic Church is going to be on the leading edge of innovation, and we're going to be the conscience of big business. And it's going to be just like 15th century Florence with the bishops in charge of the big book of moral economic decision making. I mean, and like, I'm not making any of this up, but once you read this, you can't sit back and go like, okay, Helen, you know, like, I don't think I want the bishop to be in charge of my moral economic decision making. Thank you very much. Even as you are the conscience of IBM. No, thank you. No, thank you.
You think 2%? I bet it's going to be more than 2%.
And in our city, actually, Sister Mary Skillian with Project Home, they're doing a lot in affordable housing. So they've taken away city-owned public housing. They've turned it to privatized vouchers, which will likely soon be Blackstone, you know, the largest realty.
So you're going to have Blackstone. You're going to have Bill Gates. You're going to have maybe that really rich guy that owns X building his little small little modular glass houses, and they're going to be private. This is how the rich are going to stay rich. We're going to owe them.
Provider, and that it's run through the Catholic Church, this housing access, right? So imagine that you're being put on a housing path.
And so, guys, I for those who are new or those who have watched some of my other stuff, the churches, especially the Catholic Church, and I'm not saying anything about with religion. I'm talking about the higher up people. So let's not get sensitive. They are one of the biggest investors in NGOs, which are non-government organizations. The non-government organizations are the ones who are bringing all these people and paying these people to come into this country and to several other countries and causing all kinds of chaos. These NGOs also don't pay any taxes. So they have all kinds of money that they could go and buy all these shelters with money that they've laundered through different schemes, right? By not paying taxes, the number one big of them. So they're going to build these private. So it's almost like, I'm sure you guys know about private prisons, right? So they have these private prison systems, and we have public prison systems. But these private prison systems, when you go to prison, you're not treated like the public ones as far as like having comments. If you don't have someone to give you commissary, you're SOL. So imagine, take a private prison and then compare that to having a private partnership, like an NGO, being in charge of housing. So instead of the government going up and buying all these housings and putting up apartments for you to live in and have freedoms, they will have their own rules, their own systems, and their own way of, I don't know, if you don't do, I don't know. Will they shut off your water? Will they shut off your heat? Because they'll be in control of it. I don't know. That sounds terrifying to me. I'd rather live in a tent.
Pathway or self-improvement pathway, and you're put into a faith-based community that doesn't match your faith. You know, like, I mean, it could happen, right? And the head of our Federal Reserve is a former Wharton professor, Philadelphia Fed, who was on the board of Catholic Relief Services. So this stuff is all knit together. So again, you know, inclusive capitalism, compliments of the Vatican. They just really like to be more inclusive, right? I mean, the problem was inclusive. Like some people didn't actually want to be included in the plan, right? And then they didn't actually have the choice. So they had this big Vatican. They just really like to.
All right. So smart, let's see, inclusive capitalism. Okay. So pagans promised land, making the world fairer, more inclusive, and sustainable. Okay. There's the other word. So DEI, inclusive, sustainable. Join the global movement with other CEOs, leaders, and individuals transforming our economies and societies. So you can't make this shit up, guys. Like, this stuff is out there. They're actively out there planning what they're doing, but they speak in code. They speak at these words that make people feel all good and fuzzy and included inside, because as a kid, I was made fun of. And so as an adult, we're going to make you feel included because you're sensitive and you're going to buy this crap. This is why they're trying to divide our country. This is why they're pitting us against each other. Right here. right here. And I don't know what the solution is. I have no clue.
To be
No
more
clue.
inclusive, right? I mean, the problem was inclusive. Like some people didn't actually want to be included in the plan, right? And then they didn't actually have the choice. So they had this big conference recently, the Unite to Prevent, that's the Vatican. So they're gearing up for their program. Again, it's the biosecurity state. It's going, the new wilderness, the new manifest destiny empire is your cells, So that's Ronald Cohen. Everybody should know Ronald Cohen. I have some articles about him. Raul Diego did a really nice piece at Silicon Icarus about that. But he's a key player that nobody knows about. And the thing is, at that conference, there were a lot of people from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I will just say, like, they're very closely together. I've mentioned Salt Lake City as being a center of a lot of the technology. And this is from the Salt Lake Tribune. So if we understand markets and the pressure of markets and how it works, is that
I'm going to have to start paying, I live in Utah, and we've always been such a red state. We've always been such an extremely red state. Like, I've never worried about anything. I don't feel like going outside. I don't get nervous. I don't like get worried about getting robbed. I just don't have those fears. And what was it? After the market crashed, was it when, I don't know, during the Obama years, they brought a bunch of the Silicon Valley companies moved to Salt Lake City. So they moved where they're doing their stuff. And I've never paid attention. Everything that I've been paying attention to is on a global scale. Like, what is the big plan on a global scale? And I try to think that way, but it's my own state. My hell, I need to wake up.
That if you're investing, where do you put your investments where the imperative is making money, right? And so you're putting them in health and technology stocks. And so, this was, I'm not sure, it might have been a couple years ago that these were the top stocks, but you see Apple, Microsoft, Google, this is Ensign Peak Advisors. It says of their stock holdings, 7% were split between Apple and Microsoft, right? Johnson & Johnson, Intel, Facebook, Visa, JP Morgan Chase, Health Group, Merck, Berkshire Hathaway, Disney. These are all people who are running this program. I'm telling you, they're running the game, right? And so we have to try to find ways of holding our institutions accountable to us, no matter where they are, because the imperative within this really toxic game is that they don't. So players, I will say, I've been in touch recently with people who are targeted individuals. And if you had asked me like a couple years ago, I just don't know what I would even make. But after you sit and listen to James Giordano, you listen about neurotech and neuroweapons and smart cities, they need a test bed for this. And it's very likely, I think, that the platform in which some of the stuff is psychological warfare beyond sensory technology or neurotech is disruption, like wrecking people's lives, just cutting them off in traffic, arguing with them in the grocery store, and that creating that as a gig platform, like an Uber platform, but instead of, or whatever, like driving groceries, you sign up to like harass people, like just enough and then pull back. Like, I mean, and I'm not making this up, but I think like I've had people tell me, because I had pieces they didn't have, and then that was their piece. So I think we have to understand that all of this will have a test bed, and we have to be.
I think that she just nailed it. So I keep saying so. I don't know why I keep saying so suck your toe. She just said that she was putting all of the pieces together. Like, there was information that she had that this person didn't have. So when you start collaborating with other people and you start listening to different people's information, things start to click. And I think that's why spaces on X is really important. You get people out there that might have other information. Some of it might be wackadoo, but some of it might not be. Yet I have spent a lot of time on Gladio and history. And the whole reason of doing that was, how is this helping us in the current, and how is it going to help us with the future? Like, that's the whole reason why I started doing history. Plus, I think it's fascinating. And I'm talking about textbook history that we learned in high school. I'm talking about people who are not trying to give you a narrative. It's just facts and data and trying to make it fun at the same time. And so I did those, and I tried to make them fun. Like, I'm trying to make this fun and interactive. I had a point there, and it just totally left. It went whoosh, it went right over my head. Collaborating with other people. So Operation Gladio, all this stuff, it all ties together. And I was like, I'm going to take a different path, and kind of just see, but it's all the same. Gladio is really important to learn, because you need to learn. If you understand Gladio, you know what they're doing in every single country. And when you know what they're doing in every country, nothing seems the same. Like you can see everything, every plan, every little manipulation a mile away. And it's kind of what is it? Cognitive, I don't know what you would call it, but it causes cognitive dissonance. Like it's kind of like you have to take a step back and be like, oh, and I think that's why I took a break for a minute. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. This will be a different path. No, it's the same. It's the same plan. They want 15-minute cities. They do. And every time I talk to my friends about it, they're just like, whatever. Even people I've met online think I'm a nut because I think like this. It doesn't mean I've lost touch with reality. I still live in reality during the day. And I listen to things and I try to separate, fact from fiction. And it's hard. It's hard to decide what's real and what's not real. This stuff's backed by conferences, by data, by newspaper articles. They're out there. They advertise for it. They want you included in it. I've actually heard about those. Don't you remember that I sent you a video to watch the other night, which you probably didn't watch, which we'll probably watch because it looks fun, but we'll probably watch it on Rumble because it just was interesting. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let her finish her thought here, and then we're going to end for the night. I'm trying to not go for 4 and 5 hours when I do these. Plus, it just gives me more time to research and keep going.
Very empathetic towards people in that circumstance because everyone tells them they're crazy. And I don't think that they're crazy. I think they're living in an insane world. So Idemia, okay, I mentioned they're setting up your driver's license. So there's your augmented identity, guys. Welcome to augmented identity world. You're now a cartoon character.
Digital twin.
Digital twins. Here we'd like.
That's what they mean by your digital twin, guys. Level up your virtual experience with selfie-based avatars that people love and emotionally connect with you. Our 3D avatars come in many different styles. The large content library for Unity. For Unity, guys. There's another word. Oh, Traveling Fools just came on. Let's have him come on and say hi. Heck yeah. Oh, I got to add a... Hold on. 1 second. Well, we'll have some fun with him because he can add some value here. Where are you? Let's find. I put you. Oh, there you are. Here we go. There we go.
Right here.
How are you?
What's going on? How you doing?
Oh, doing well. Let's remove this one. Let's see. No, I got to add the other one. I always remove when I do streams. I remove some of my layouts so that they're not all hidden, so I can switch between things. Hold on. I want this layout. Let's do this one. Because I want to see your face while I talk to you. Hello. So
hey,
we're just talking about smart cities and stuff. I'm sure you heard some of it.
Yeah. I was tuned in. I actually dozed off earlier. I woke up, I meant to come on. I woke up. I was, holy cow, you're already like halfway done. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I listened to your last episode. It was super interesting. So I'm interested to go back and catch up on the beginning of this one and see where we ended up at.
Oh, you have to watch the one from. Oh no, you watched some of the one from last Thursday.
Right. Yeah, I went back and watched that.
Yeah, so there was one from Thursday, and then we did this on Sunday. But it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot to take in there, a lot to not trust, a lot to sit back and think about. Yeah,
it's kind of hard because after going over Operation Gladio. Like I was like, because that stuff is all documented. It's all stuff I've been able to verify through separate sources because it was a book that I'd read, and I was able to verify everything except for one name in the whole entire thing. And so, but a lot of it is the same players that are involved in those operations that are involved in this planning. So it's kind of, are they there yet? By 2030, I don't see us being there by 2030. My thing is, this may never come to pass, but if it did, how would you prepare yourself? Like, what could we do? I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot. It's hard to think about fighting back against something like this, when it really comes down to it in the end. But hopefully, you know, some people will be able to, and some people will be able to go off grid and do, and those are going to be the people outside the cities, you know.
But how are you going to go off grid if they have sensors everywhere?
Right. Well, I mean, they're not going to be able to do that all over the whole country. I mean, that would mainly be in the cities. It would be pretty hard to, to blanket the whole, you know, whole United States, the rural parts of it. Lucky people like you and I live in the middle of nowhere. That's why my internet probably looks like crap right now. You know,
I thought you were getting fiber.
They're working on it. They've mapped it all out and dug some holes and kind of messed up what we already had. So we're just sitting here waiting at this point. So, you know,
nice.
Yeah, it kind of stinks. But
yeah, I wonder if they'll try to do just like, even if they like, so Bill Gates is trying to build, he actually bought property in 20. So this video that we're watching is 4 years old. And in 2020, Bill Gates purchased a bunch of land in Arizona, and he had plans for a smart city there. I don't think if they were to do smart cities, it's not like tomorrow we're going to wake up and have smart cities. It'll be like a long thought out plan.
Well, yeah, that would take, I mean, how many years would that take? Logically thinking, I mean, that could be 20 years of before it was actually put. I mean, is Bill Gates even going to still be alive then? Fingers crossed. I don't know.
You know there's going to be someone that he's going to hand the reins down to, because every idea that he has right now was handed down from Dear Daddy, right? His mom and dad were part of creating Planned Parenthood. That was like their legacy, their legend, right?
Yeah, who was in with that lady? What's her swimmer?
You just said the name. You messed me up.
Margaret Sanger. Yeah. Yes, I was thinking David Schwimmer, Margaret Sanger. You know, kind of same thing.
Yeah, they're kind of the but you know that Bill Gates is a Rothschild, right? Did you know that?
Yeah, and is like on his, is it his mother's? Has to be one or his father's side. Well, one of them. Yeah, it's like his.
I think it's
great grandfather or something like that. There is a connection there.
No, there is, because I did his when I was covering what was it, the Fall of the Cabal. He had come up, and so I'd actually got on DuckDuckGo and did his genealogy, and I was able to go clear back to like after 1800. When it starts to get into the late 1800s, I lose track, because they're like, oh, this person unknown birth, unknown name, unknown. So after a certain period of time, they don't go back all the way.
Right. And we all know the Rothschilds. They've been a part of what? Funding every war, funding about everything bad that's happened. They've their money's done it. So
yep.
Yeah.
I would like to black blah, 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 blah. Can you tell me, I've been talking for 2 hours? BlackRock and all these other companies. I would like to see, because they're those companies are all intertwined with the same people. They just kind of shell off of, like, funnel money between each other through different NGOs and different projects.
Right. They're all in cahoots. I mean, that's without a doubt. It's the same, evil players that are running the world. I would pretty much imagine that's the way that goes.
Nice. How was your day?
It was good. It was good. We did trivia night earlier, got back and thought, let me sit down here for a second. I worked since 7 o'clock this morning. So it was a long day, went on. And yeah, it was like, I was going to jump on here with you earlier. So sorry about that. I just sat down. I was like, I'm going to wait just a minute. And then next thing I know, it was like 1 o'clock. I was like, holy cow.
I get told that my voice puts people to sleep. I get told that all the time. It's okay.
Well, thankfully, I fell asleep before I started listening. So, I can't blame it on you this time. So,
dang it. What else was I going to ask you? How was trivia night? Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, we always do. It's always fun. I always take my fun where I go with me, because I don't know if they're going to have my kind when I get there. So I figure if I take mine with me, then I always have a good time. So it normally works out.
That's a good plan.
I saw some people talking about Tartaria there in the comments. That is an interesting topic.
Do you know the story behind that?
A little bit. I haven't dove deep into it, but I would love to sometime. So if you ever want to,
let's dig and collaborate and let's do it. I think I watched a video the other night that was talking about it.
Well, that ties into even a lot of people speculating that the Great Wall was built, by the Tartarians and maybe I was, and not the Chinese. And That's why, I mean, I was looking into some of that. That's why they say that the cannon holes are actually facing the wrong way and stuff in the Great Wall. So yeah, there's some pretty cool things.
Interesting.
I planned on going to the Great Wall one time, and I decided not to after a day in China. I figured it was plane ticket out of the place.
Did you go to China?
Yeah, we went to China and got taken by the military and taken 2 levels underneath an airport and interrogated for like 2.5 hours at gunpoint.
Why?
So clearly it was my wife and I, a Russian and a Mexican, and they took the 4 of us. So I don't know if maybe one of those 2 people but they let us all go at the end, and stamped our passports and sent us out and said, "Enjoy your time in China." And we booked the next flight. Well, we booked the next flight out and said, "No, thank you."
Crap.
No, thank you. We're out. They took away like all our possessions, we had nothing but our clothes on. I mean, they took our shoes, they took our everything, and
what?
Interrogate. Yeah, it was a pretty scary situation. So, we had planned to go to the Great Wall, but it wasn't worth it. I can look at pictures on the internet, I guess.
This is why people are like, I've never gotten my passport because my guy likes to travel, and that's always, and I need to get it because he likes to travel, but it's always been my excuse. Well, oh, you go, honey, because I don't have a passport, right? Because it would take me a while to get one. So it's always been my excuse. I don't know. I don't know if it's a fear. I don't know if I have a fear of going over. I know you have a fear of traveling over water, which I shouldn't. I've been in plenty of planes, but I don't know what it is. Foreign countries where I don't know their laws and rules, and that experience right there is why I don't want to go to other countries.
You can have a lot of fun doing it. Just every now and then you do run into some sketchy things, but that's, I like the sketchy things. I mean, to me, it's a good story and it's something fun and a life experience. So I'm looking for another one next time. I don't want to redo that one, but I would definitely skip China. I'll never go back.
You only experienced China once.
Yeah, and that was once enough. I'm good for that. Very good. But yeah, Tartaria is an interesting topic that I would love to research that a little more and dive into it. So if you ever want to do that, just let me know. I'd be totally down.
Have you dug into the Fabian Society? That's another topic because I keep hearing it being tossed around all the time, and I want to understand the history of it.
No, I don't know. I'm going to know what you speak of, but I do not know any kind of quality details that I could add at this time. I would definitely look into it, though. That would be cool. Yeah,
I'm very, very curious. I mean, I've heard various different people in spaces, like intelligent people that aren't I don't know. There's some weird people. I don't know. I have a really hard time with these people. Who was it? Those aliens. What are they called? You know what I'm talking about.
Which ones?
Oh, the group of people that they call the aliens, what they're called. I can't think of it right now.
Anunnakis, is that?
Yeah, the Anunnaki. And they were talking about the 9th planet, the planet X, or, we discovered a new planet. And I hear these people talking like these are real people really here. And it's I really have a really hard time.
Oh, where they say it passes us every, 10,000 years, and then 2140 it's going to go by us again in the thing. Yeah, I mean, I've heard all that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't quote me on the dates. I'm just figuratively speaking, but I mean, there is some kind of future date within the next 1,000 years, 100. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but they say we're going to go back, that the way of the rotation, and that's why they were able to come to us easier, because it only rotates around the sun, and
and gravitational force. And I watched a video on it. I watched a video on it the other night, and it was and the guy positioned it as fiction, or fiction's fake, right? Nonfiction's real. Okay, so he positioned it as a fiction, but he was going through this whole story and sharing the different buildings and different things that they've discovered underground, and talked about all. I was just kind of I have to rewatch it again, but it's just he was explaining how it could be possible, but he said this is fiction.
Anything's possible. And I think right is correct. I think it is Nibiru. Nibiru is the planet that they talk of.
Nibiru, and they were saying that they came to our country, or our globe, our world, because of the gold, and gold is what allows them to travel and sustain their life or whatever. And that's why the rich people are always hoarding our gold, because they want to, for Nibiru or whatever, for Anunnaki. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Right. They say that they're apparently gold. I think this is factual too, that gold is it helps with the atmosphere somehow and holding together an atmosphere. And that is the logic in the Anunnaki, Nibiru theory concept, that they were mining the gold here because their atmosphere was disintegrating and they could mine our gold. And that is why something as useless as gold way back was being mined by the ancient Egyptians and then blah, blah, blah. I don't know that there's any, that's just what they say,
yeah. I don't know, but I hear people talk about it like it's like, they're like, yeah, Nibiru and the solar eclipse is going to, like, everything's going to line up. I just is like, and they're really excited about it. And I just really have a hard time. I don't know. I just have a hard time with it. So Think Right says everything X. So Twitter/X, Planet X, disease, that one I'm not saying out loud. New gender X, and that Biden passed 2 weeks ago. Yep, good point.
Is there a new gender X?
Yes, as of 2 weeks ago, Biden passed it. I don't even know what it is. What is gender X?
Oh Lord, I have to keep up with this. It's kind of like
Why?
No, I'm joking. I would have never known there was a new gender X.
Hold on one second. Julian, Allison thing is done, but I was already at a stopping point tonight. We're at 2 hours and 11 minutes. So there's 1 hour left of it. I was already going to stop after 1 hour.
Okay, cool. I didn't mean to steamroll you off there or nothing like that.
No. Well, we could listen to more, but I was at my brain, when I'm learning something new, if I already know the topic, I can go. I was saying that I was done with it for the night. Just because the reason being, Julian, is it's a lot of information. And when I'm learning new information, if I don't stop, my brain hits overload, then I stop retaining it and I lose track. Oh, no, you must have walked away from your computer, because I said that I was at a stopping point anyway. So let's have traveling fools come on and chit chat for a minute and hang out and ask questions.
Yeah, talk about nonsense for a minute, like Anunnaki.
Yes. Yeah, Anunnaki. I know, I missed my trivia night. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, maybe it's not all BS. Maybe it's true. And who knows? Maybe some of this stuff has to be true. It can't all be not true. So many conspiracy theories have come true in the past, especially the past 3 years, that it would be hard to believe that none of these other ones are true, but I'm going to have to find a good one.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories that have come to fruition. And that's why clear back in the 1960s, where they came up with the term, is that anytime you question something that seems so outrageous that may be occurring in the world, they call you conspiracy theorist. So you don't dig into it to validate it, right?
Right, exactly. And anything that's outside of the norm, the alphabet agency just labels you as a conspiracy theorist. So it's a good way to shut you up.
Yeah. So now it's becoming like a badge of honor. If you're called a conspiracy theorist, it means, yeah, I'm doing my job right.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind, especially after 2020 and 2019 and 2020. Well, I guess 2020 and 2021, I guess, really. It doesn't bother me too much.
No, I'm just a big fan of this. Information's here. Take it for what you want. I'm not an expert in it. This is all new to me. Do your own research. Validate, find what you can validate. Throw away what you can't. So simple. Don't be lazy. Don't trust everyone. Question everyone.
Yeah, that's something I don't understand there, is when did it become bad to question things? Like 2 years ago? Haven't we been told our whole lives, like we were raised to question things and to, like, science is an ever-changing thing. You were always supposed to question science. That's what made science interesting. You were always supposed to question everything. That's what made it. I mean, science is an evolving topic. It never ends. You're always trying to expand until 2020 came along. And then it was trust the science. There is no more science in this. It all ends right here. The buck stops here, folks. Just eat your bugs, get in line, put that thing on your face, stick this in your arm. We know everything. Just shut up and listen.
Oh, like Mike deGrasse Tyson, right? He doesn't even see no scientific reasoning as to gender anymore or to sex.
No.
It's not.
It's ludicrous.
So I have a friend, and she has a son that is wanting to transition, and I think that she really struggled with it. She works in a hospital where she works in a NICU where she gets to see babies be born. And she was trying to convince me that she really thinks that it's possible that some people are born in the wrong bodies because some babies have bigger clitorises at birth and some guys have smaller penises at birth. And I'm like, and she was trying to convince me that it was possible that this was like, and I'm like, you went to school, you had to do science. Like, what? I understand you're struggling with this thing, right? With your son, because she's trying to be really accepting, and Utah culture, Mormonism is kind of like something that's not very accepted. Like, I don't care what people are. Don't keep it away from my kids. Like, I don't care. You do you. But it was just like, don't try to convince me that science isn't science.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, biology is biology. You can live in a fantasy world if you want to, but I'm never going to live in that fantasy world and give up everything that the whole race of human time has figured it out until 8 years ago, and all of a sudden we're supposed to say, yeah, there are.
Well, just think about it. Okay, just think about it. How many cows do you know that's a bull that has a baby? How many animals on this planet are out there doing the nasty McNasty with like another bull? Like,
I'm sure there's been people who have tried to milk a cow or milk a bull before and it didn't work out well for them, but it's.
Who sent me the link for that video? Someone sent me a link to that video. What is it? Where he was out there and
probably like, was it Pauly Shore? Was it Pauly Shore and
yeah, I think so. No,
probably and son-in-law, the old movie with Pauly Shore where he comes in. Probably where he was living on the farm.
It was a blonde guy. It was a blonde guy. Who was it?
That's the other movie. That's Kingpin. Yeah. Kingpin, where he goes and lives with
went and milked the bull. And someone sent me that link on Twitter. I was laughing so hard. And he's all drinking the milk from the bull.
He's got that mustache on there. Oh my God.
And he's like, we don't have a bull. And he goes off running. I just died.
Now Woody Harrelson doing that.
Oh,
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Don't put good Woody Harrelson. Yeah. I can't remember. I just know it was funny. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Think right. Actually, it was actually Rockefeller that started changing everything in the early 1900s. Think right. That's when they changed the curriculum. They changed the way we teach medicine. That's when they started creating pharmaceuticals from petroleum because he owned a bunch of petroleum. And that's when he started coming up with vitamins and all these things that we put on our skin, like sunscreen and lotions and all this stuff. Like, where was lotion before? Like in the 1800s, did people just make lotion? No, they probably just put coconut oil on it. I don't know.
Do you know that the human race went on for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years without hand sanitizer? Without hand sanitizer, you didn't, these people managed to create civilizations and move on, for years and years without things like that.
Yeah, they would just go wash. Yeah, I'm sure there was people who died from disease. And I got into an argument with someone on Twitter because I'm like, something, I can't remember what was said, but I'm like, oh, people forgot. Oh, it was putting stuff into food. And I'm like, and doing things medically. And I was like, what did we ever do? What do we ever do for the 1900s? How did people survive and eat and grow their own food? And their argument was, well, there's a lot more people now, and a lot more people died. I'm like, really? Do you know that? Did they die through war, or did they die from disease?
Yeah, that's not. I don't think it would matter how many. A concentrated area of people. I mean, that's why, like, when the plague and all that. I mean, it was concentrated area from something else that wouldn't have been avoided by hand sanitizer. It wouldn't have been avoided by any of that. I like when the Kung Flu started and you saw everybody. Remember when people were afraid to pump gas? They were standing out there, with like these paper bags and all this sanitizer, and you couldn't figure. And it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen in my life. And
I actually carried around rubber gloves. I bought them before the when I first found out. I will tell you that I was one of those people that was nervous about it when it started, not because of anything they told me. I learned really early on that it was potentially man-made, and so I prepared accordingly. That was my worry, not all the other garbage. And I look back and I'm like, did I really do that? I didn't do the hand sanitizer. I didn't believe it. I don't believe in antibiotic hand sanitizers and all that crap, but I was like,
well, that was another part of our fun China thing. That was actually in, I guess it was September, end of September, early October of 2019 when we were there.
Oh, wow.
And we left, got the hell out of China. We planned to go to spend a couple days in Thailand after there and have a longer trip in China and a shorter trip in Thailand. And we flip-flopped it. We were like, well, screw this. Because I never book like tours or any of that. It's like, get me here. I'm going to stay here as long as I want. Then I'm going to move to the next place, And we ended up staying in Thailand a lot longer, which was a lot more fun. But by the time we left Thailand and then we landed in Malaysia, and that was about 6 days after we left China. And we were both so sick. I mean, like, I had the worst cough I ever had in my life. But everybody, and then we made it to Indonesia. Everybody in Indonesia was sick. Everybody in, like, everywhere we went, everybody was sick. It was funny. And then we get back and it's like a month and a half later, they're like, get ready, the world's ending. I was kind of like, I think I already had that. I'm not worried about it.
No, you probably did get that whatever was going around, or like there definitely was something out there, I think. It's making people sick. Maybe. I don't know.
And Baker is right. I mean, it does. And especially you see a lot of these parents, and I think it's one of the worst things you can possibly see out there. They're constantly washing their kids' hands. They're constantly like, oh my God, don't get that dirt on you. Oh my God. I mean, I still drink from the water hose. I still go outside and drink from the water hose, and I think that's good for you.
I still all the time too.
Yeah, I mean that right there makes character. It builds your immune system. It helps with a lot of things. And cuts heal and chicks dig scars. So, let them fall down. It's not going to hurt them.
What was I going to say? I was going to ask Baker, if you want to come on and hang out for a minute, I can send you a link. Let me know in the chat if you want to come have adult conversation. He had a show at 7 a.m. on Saturday that I said that I was going to join at 8 because I knew I wouldn't get up at 7. And I slept till 11 my time. I wake up, I was like, oh, damn it. I felt so bad because I don't like to commit. I'll say, well, send me a link and I'll maybe come on. But if I commit, it's like I've never missed a show when I commit to it.
Right. I can honestly say I've never missed one either. At least not without like a reasonable heads up. Something came, that's when.
Yeah, no, he gave me 2 days heads up. Like, he's like, well, why didn't it work for me? Like, well, let's just do this Saturday because I didn't have anything going on, right? And then I don't want to send you my Cash App. I was like, I don't have anything going on. That'd be perfect. I'm like, I'll not do a show Friday. I'll get up in plenty of time. It'll work out perfectly. And I woke up and I was like, no. And I usually tell my guy, because he's an early morning person, I'll say, hey, I have this. And I did tell him, but he forgot. So he'll usually make sure I'm awake.
I got you. And it won't be the last, Baker. It won't be the last.
Not the first woman that's to do. I sent you a link if you want to join, but no pressure. You don't have to. We're just chilling. If you want to talk about our fun conspiracy stuff, this is all conspiracy. This is nothing is in fact. These are just opinions and bouncing things off of each other. Just FYI. terracotta flower. I've never heard of terracotta flower. Pots, unglazed, work well, had it tested. Huh. Interesting. We'll have to get on and collaborate.
What is terracotta flower?
I don't know.
Terracotta flower pots.
Spring water. Yeah, I've never heard of terracotta.
Yeah, I would love to jump on and cover some conspiracy sometime, though. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I like talking about conspiracy. We just have to determine what ones we're going to talk about to determine what platforms we do.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like I mean, it's fun to just randomly talk about some, but you can't really dive deep into them. If I know a lot about, or a little bit about a lot of them, but with and I've got tons of notes from other ones I've covered and stuff like that. But you got to have notes to to really dive deep.
Oh no, yeah, no, I like to have I'll usually if I'm doing something new that has a book that goes with it, we'll listen to part of a book, but I take notes on it because I want to know and remember what they're talking about, what I think is relevant. But
are you a Graham Hancock fan?
A Graham Hancock? Do I know Graham Hancock? What books has he written?
Yeah, he's the one that did like the what do they call it? Fingerprints of the Gods, and he's the big into like the ancient civilizations and stuff like that.
That's who that guy was doing a show from the other night, was Graham Hancock.
Mm-hmm. Probably. Most people go back. You don't necessarily agree on everything he says, but he's super interesting to read that book, go back, check it out, or at least listen to it. There is the
Magic of the Magicians of the Gods, Fingerprints of the Gods, America Before. Yeah, those would be interesting. The Sign of the Sill. Those would be good ones to do Audible. So do Audible listenings and talk about it, do chapter at a time and stop after sections.
Oh, I would love that. That would be awesome. Because I could.
That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Because then it's like I don't like to do more than a chapter unless they're 20-minute chapters, but listen to a chapter at a time because it's one topic or one subject, and go through it and then talk about it and discuss it. I don't know. I think those are fun.
Yeah, he's super cool, and he's one of the first people that went out and really dove into researching and saying hey, wait a minute, ancient science, is or what they've taught us with the ancient science and everything like that. It's not what we think that it is, and he's one of the main people to go back and say this world is probably, or human civilization is probably a lot older than what they teach us now, and that everything we've been taught is wrong.
Yeah, that was the guy. So the guy who, I'll have to send you this video. Like I told you, he did it in the fiction format, right? So I can say this is fiction, right? And kind of tells a story, but he did an amazing, he did it, 5 days ago or 5 weeks ago? I don't know, but he already has over 1.2 million views last time I watched it. But it was well put together, and he was talking about all the different dating and how they've gotten it wrong. And so if we go back this much further, then so it was pretty cool. Yeah, I like Randall Carlson.
Yeah, I like Randall Carlson too. I like Graham Hancock better. I just think he's more interesting.
We should do his books. We should just pick a night that works, that's consistent, and we could just have this be our Randall Carlson book reading night.
Yeah, that would be cool too. Yeah, with the whole Göbekli Tepe and all that, like Julian's saying. I mean, that stuff is so interesting. Now they've found
that's what he was talking about the show. I'll have to send it to you. I got to go potty, so will you man the fort for 3 seconds?
I got it. And Julian, you're talking about that. And they talk about the new, I'm trying to remember the name of it, the temple in Indonesia. What the hell is it called? Or the pyramid. I guess it's pyramid. Let me look that up. Let me get the name right on that. I hate saying the names wrong. Pyramid is in Java. Let me look. And Gunung Padang. They found that one in Indonesia now, which looks, they say it could date back to being the oldest proof of civilization. Yes. Gunung Padang is what it's called. Gunung. Gunung means mountain, I think. Gunung or Padang means mountain. One or the other. I forget. I get my Indonesian confused, even though I've been there many times. I still don't speak it well. I know how to say certain keywords, and that's enough to keep me going. But it looks like it's super interesting, and I actually plan, hopefully, the next trip we make there, which hopefully is this year, to go check that out and do my own. Not that I can really do research. I am no Indiana Jones, but I can at least maybe fly a drone over it, check it out, go around, film it, get my own take on it. I think that would be cool. That would be really cool. And the Göbekli Tepe thing, I mean, that's just super interesting. Who knows which way that goes? And I think that's in Turkey, isn't it? Didn't Göbekli Tepe in Turkey? So that's a super interesting place there too, which we know Turkey, there's a lot of history there with Troy and all that. So it would be cool. I like all those. Anybody in the chat, I mean, if you got a good topic that you think is an ancient civilization topic or something like that, put it out there. Put it out there. Maybe we could cover that sometimes, because I love doing shows like that. That's right up my alley. Anything in the back, and I do like Sally's idea too, like listening to those books and listening to Randall Carlson or Graham Hancock doing chapter by chapter, talking about them. That would be super fun. So I think that would be cool. I know I read Fingerprints of the Gods. I haven't read the other one, but I did read Fingerprints of the God, and it is super cool.
Yeah, he put one out in 1995. Sorry, the first one he did was The Signs and the Seal, The Sign and the Seal. And then he put out Fingerprints of the Gods. Then he put out Underworld. Ooh, I wonder if that talks about Atlantis. And then Magicians of the Gods, and then American Before. And that was in 2019.
Yeah, if you've never read those, that would be some fun ones that we could probably do that, because if you've never read that, it's his whole story is about him traveling through there as well, and having to go at night, and he's traveling through, and he's having to go under gunfire, and there's all kinds of, and he's like one of the first people who ever went through there checking. I mean, so there's a lot of other excitement that goes with that too. It's kind of like a real, real-time Indiana Jones type of thing. And he's telling.
Did he really experience that, or did he?
Yes.
Yeah. Really?
He was one of the first reporters, and he was just a reporter is where he started out, and he was traveling, trying to get his thing, and he got involved and interested in that. So went on his own, hired people to take him through these places, and he had to hire it's interesting. Give it a
I didn't know they were that. That'd be super fun to go through those.
Yeah, it's a fun read. He's talking about having to travel at night because during the day they're getting shot at, and having to sneak through these borders at night to get from this place to this place. It's interesting. It's super cool. It's been years since I've read it, so it'd be cool to read it again or listen to it. And what's up, LW? Good to see you. LW, he's another really knowledgeable person.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun just to have a panel, because I think I have like 13 credits on Audible, so I could easily get them and play them through StreamYard. It'd be really easy.
Yeah, and I don't know how it works either. I know those are actually on, or I know the Fingerprints of the Gods, the audiobook is actually on YouTube as well. So I don't know if that makes it easier or harder. I don't know how that works.
I just do it. I like to do it through Audible, just because I don't know who read it. It depends if it's the same reader. I just get them. If it's a book I like, I just purchase it, because then I can, that way when I stream it, if it's free, then it's fair use if the author puts it out. But I just like to be able to purchase it, because give them credit for their work that I'm using.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I've never done that, so I don't know how the.
Oh yeah, I've done it with a couple books. Yeah, I've done it a couple times.
They don't hit you with copyrights or any of that. They just let you do it.
I don't know how that works. That's why I do that. I do that on Audible.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no. So copyright would have to come from the author. So if the author puts the book out there, unless it's on his channel, if it's on his channel, then it's different. But if someone else puts his book out, you would think that he would have them take it down.
Right. That would make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been trying to figure out the copyright laws for audiobooks, but the ones I've done, the audiobooks that I have done, I've been able to get for free, or I've been able to email people and say, hey, I'm using your book and I'm doing it on this channel. If at any time you want me to take it down, I'll take it down.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So I've sent DMs to him, like, I'm using your content. I will be happy to take it. Like, I give a chance to respond, right? And there's people who I don't think would do copyright strike. So then, yeah. So I just tell them that I'll take it down if you want me to. So they don't hit me with that. I can just take it down.
Right. And most of those people who do stuff like that, they do it more for the, like if it came out that long ago and it's all over the internet, I think they're probably pretty cool with you, just having the interest in what they did, I would think.
Yeah. Well, I could probably read it. So I could read it and be like, have my eyes tired while doing a stream. Or that'd actually be kind of fun too if we had the book and we read, we each had a character, but it's probably just him telling the story. So
yeah, it's just him. I think the one that I listened to is actually him narrating it. So
I bet it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely worth diving into and doing. That'd be
especially
fun.
Historical fiction. Anyway, I'm not going to stay on too long tonight because I'm having like my back is hurting for some reason. Not being a bedwetter, but kind of tired tonight.
No, that's all good. Like I said, I popped on. I saw that link there. I woke up from a nap and went, "Oh shoot, I better jump on here for a minute." So that was fun talking about that. Just let me know when what topic and when you want to do that, and we'll pin down a night that works for both of us, and we'll jump in and start doing it. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I would be excited about it. I'm going out of town next weekend for a week. So I think we started plan for 2 or 3 weeks, and let's just figure out what we're going to do and let's go for it. I think it sounds fun.
Cool. Well, yeah, let me know the exact topic. That's perfect. Like 2 weeks to research the topic, and
do we want to do a topic or do we want to do the book reading? So you can decide.
Either way, I want to look into it first. So
yeah, we'll collab.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Well, I'll let you in this here. Thanks for having me on. Everybody out there in chat, we'll see y'all later. And Sally, thanks again. We will talk to you soon. All right, see ya.
So anyway, guys, I want to stop after an hour of that book. And I thought I told you guys, I apologize if I didn't make that clear. My brain was getting overwhelmed with knowledge. And sometimes I keep staring at my cut on my forehead. Sometimes I have to take a break and kind of like absorb it, digest it slowly, because that's how I remember things. And that's how I'm able to repeat information back to people. Because I want to learn these. I don't just do this. I do this for you guys too. These are things I want to learn, and I'm hoping that you'll come along for the ride and learn with me. That's kind of the goal. And he's absolutely right. If there's topics that you guys are interested in, see you tinfoil pirate hat wears later. Good night, Jobathon. But if there are topics that you're interested in, like I've said this before, let me know. The things I like to cover are things that are important. I want to have some fun stuff too. So if you have some fun ideas, I really wanted to do this murder mystery kit that I got. I need to talk to, where do I put it? I think I brought it back downstairs, but it's like a game I got for Christmas, but it's like a kit and you've got to solve it. I got to figure out how we could do it. Yes, it is complimentary. 100% is complimentary. I take zero offense. I know that I think differently, and they're just my thoughts and the way my brain's working. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's going to come to pass. But the data out there is pretty interesting and kind of terrifying at the same time. And I think that's why a lot of people ignore the information that's out there, is because it's kind of terrifying if that were to actually come to pass. I don't see how that could happen in my lifetime. I do know that they want 15-minute cities, and I do know that my state. I know one of the guys running for governor, our state, they're already planning for it. But it's all going to start with housing for the poor. So they're creating this huge homeless population by allowing all these immigrants to stay into our country. And how are they going to solve the problem? So they create a problem that they already have a solution to, right? Wow, your BitChute, my BitChute, us. Oh, is like a storage closet of my research. That's cool. Is it stuff that you've just researched or just videos you found? I've gone through there a couple of times, but every time I think to go on it, it's late at night and I get tired. Anyway, I need to do a spaces sometimes this week too. I want to start doing a space once a week for all of you guys who don't know. So Twitter/X has what's called X Spaces, and they're kind of fun because you can just create a space and people can just talk at each other and ask questions and just we can either hang out or have a topic and just make it fun. Anyway, guys, I'm going to say good night. Tomorrow night for sure, I am doing a movie. Unless someone is dying, tomorrow night for sure, we're doing a movie on Twitch. It's going to be fun. Last night I had family issues, and so didn't happen. By the time they were resolved, it was too late, and I was too tired, and there was no time to set anything up. So I apologize for anyone who did go join, and I will see y'all tomorrow night. And I'm ending in 3, 2, 1.